Okay, I'd like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Byrne?
Here.
Trustee Markwart?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Schwartz? Here. Trustee Williams? Here. Trustee Hebda? Here. Trustee Schultz?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any citizens that want to address the board tonight?
We talk about Menards now or later?
No, it's on committee to hold. So other than what's on committee to hold, because if it's on committee to hold, then you could speak. Obviously, you could speak to Menards. Anybody? No, not now. No.
Later?
No, yeah, it's committee to hold. Is there anybody? Okay. All right. If not, I'd like to welcome Home Sergeant Dave Ptak. Can you come up, Dave?
He's coming in now, I think.
Was he here? Oh, great.
Mr. Mayor, he's on his way.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw him walking in just
we'll
now.
wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait a little, he'll be here in a little while. Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe I did see him. I thought I did.
You'll hear him.
Oh, you're up? Okay.
Did we get the flag up across Deer Path and all that? Okay. Well, we could do something else.
Let's
Just
get
come
the-
back to it.
the-
Okay.
Reports.
Special village board meeting, July 22nd, which
Okay.
is,
Next week,
Week from
Tuesday.
tonight.
A week from today.
John, do you want to do 7 or 6:30 or 6 next week?
yeah. 6 is, I don't, if everybody can be here, I don't know. 6 o'clock would be fine,
Okay.
I will not be here.
okay?
I think
I hear
they're
you.
coming. There we go.
I hear the sirens.
Okay.
Ah, here they come.
Joe, you, the assistant village manager, you want to thank the 4th of July people?
Sure. Yeah, like Your Honor said, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone involved with the 4th of July. First and foremost, thank the board for providing the tremendous weather. Certainly the best parade I've been here, so that was very good.
It was the best weather you ever experienced, right?
Yeah. I'd also like to sincerely thank the parade committee members and volunteers, Kathy Byrne, Kathy McHenry, Bob Pycook, John Hintz, Tim Grebe, Ash K. Patel, Shilpa Ramprasad, Stephen Lindsay Maslov, Adam Fishbach, Cliff Young, and Jeff Bougero. There were a total of 95 participants in the parade, which is up from 80 from the previous year. We had a number of latecomers to the parade, which really helped boost the numbers. I think the weather really helped boost the turnout. Fireworks, same, had a really great turnout. We had a brief battery malfunction during the fireworks display. Otherwise, it seemed to go off without a hitch and seemed really, really well done.
Nice.
Special thanks to the Park District for not only sponsoring the Drum and Bugle Corps, the Black Watch, but also once again sponsoring the stage and evenings entertainment, the Big Fun Band. I think they did a really great job, and I mean, that was my first time being there, but it seemed to really get the crowd and audience really all together. Jeff Bougero deserves a big thank you for the bands, but also for providing complimentary water passes to the Drum and Bugle Corps kids. And thank you also to the Hawthorne School District 73 for housing the band. Again, thanks to the board for the continued support of the event. It's a community-wide event that draws people from all over the region, and it really is a community-wide event, so thank you for continuing to support it. Special thanks also to the Public Works and Police Department for their efforts both in the morning and the evening. Public Works did a great job putting together the Village Board float, and I think it'll be something that we'll look to do next year in the future probably. That was did too good of a job probably, but it looked great, and so kudos to those guys and hats off to them for really at the 11th hour being able to put together something that was really, really impressive. And I heard nothing but positive things from everyone. And finally, last but not least, huge thanks to Lisa Fishbach. I mean, without your organizational skills, hard work, and dedication towards this event, it just simply would not be possible. And so I just want to sincerely thank you, myself and everyone here, for doing such a great job. And we really do appreciate it, and we see it. So thank you very much.
Nice job, Lisa.
And Joe, let me also echo that the float was it was fabulous. I mean, the only problem was the grill. Some people were asking why we weren't throwing hot dogs as well as the candy, but it was way above and beyond what we asked for, so thank you very much. And that goes to Dave as well.
Okay. All right. I'd like to welcome home Sergeant David Ptak. Does David want to step forward? Or is he? Oh,
Am I up, Mayor?
Yes.
this looks like David.
All right, Mayor and Village Board, thank you for the opportunity of doing something special. This is our 9th Operation Welcome Home that we've done right here in the village of Vernon Hills. Very special. And this one, like the others, it strikes a tone in all of us. David, troops, can you come on up? Sergeant David Ptak, a Vernon Hills resident, a 2008 graduate of Stevenson High School. Like a lot of young American boys, did something very cool. He enlisted in the United States Army in his junior year, and between his junior and senior year, he went to basic training. Upon completion of that, upon graduation, he was assigned to MP school, where he went on to become an MP. He got married with his family, did a tour in Germany. After Germany, he came back to the United States, was assigned to the state of Washington, and then unfortunately he received orders to go to the Middle East, where he had to provide support as an MP for the combat troops in Camp Beering, Kuwait, and then was later assigned to dignitary protection throughout the Middle East, but based out of Amman, Jordan. During that time, his wife, who is also our first spouse from Vernon Hills to marry a soldier, raised 2 young boys, and during that time, supported him faithfully and loyally. So I'd like to do a couple welcome homes today. I'd like to not only welcome home our sergeant, our MP, I'd like to recognize the spouse and the dependent. Alyssa, would you post, please?
How you doing, Melissa?
Come on.
Behind every soldier, every Marine is every married and soldier Marine, I should say, is a great spouse, and this is Alyssa. Well, they live in the same subdivision on the same street. Ironically, they go to 2 different high schools. Alyssa is a 2008 graduate of Vernon Hills High School.
Yeah.
And during my interview with her, I found out she was a star softball player in her freshman year. She was called up to the varsity, did 4 years there playing center field for the Cougars. So I thought that was very, very cool. They got married, and they have 2 young sons. They have Braden and Jace back here. And I was given the great news yesterday at La Rosa that a 3rd one is on the way. So congratulations to the family.
Wonderful. Great.
Some very cool news for all of us. His new orders are going to be maybe Vernon Hills, this area. He's going to be assigned to recruiting for the next 3 years here. So I thought that was very nice.
Great.
I'd also like to recognize Miss Ptak. Can you please come on up? In our last Operation Welcome Home, probably like many of you, I was struck very much by Mrs. Weinberg and some of the comments, the eloquent comments she said. Speaking from the heart, I recall her saying she didn't sleep, she worried, there was a lot of stress, and she could not rest until her boy was home, until she was able to hug him again, and you saw her emotion right here. It struck a tone. I found that same tone with Mrs. Ptak, who was telling me what it was like to have a son deployed in a dangerous area of the world. So Mrs. Ptak, you have the green light now to hug your son and say, job well done. So David, before I turn the microphone over to the mayor, who's going to present you with the proclamation and a couple other great things, I'm going to allow your family to speak, but I'm going to tell you on behalf of the village of Vernon Hills, the Vernon Hills Police Department, and the fine men and women of the Countryside Fire Department, we are proud of you. You carried yourself with honor, and hooah.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have this. Oh,
If you want to take pictures, you can come up here.
Yes.
does somebody want to come behind?
I personally just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to even have this kind of welcome home, especially since we've been stationed so far away from home for so long. It's so nice to be welcomed home, and especially it's both of our homes, so it feels even probably as awesome for him, but it's even awesome for me. And we just want to thank you so much for supporting him and giving us this opportunity to have our all family and friends welcome him home in the way I got to when I was there actually getting to see him come home. So thank you.
Are you both on, did you grow up on, I know you did, because I know you
I grew up in
did.
Vernon Hills,
Were you
a
on
couple different
Linden?
areas.
Oh, you're at, what street were you at?
I grew up in Westwood, and then I grew up on Oakwood, and then now Deer Path. So
Oh, okay, all right.
all
okay.
in Vernon Hills.
I thought potentially it was right in the, the Bill, Deer Path, Midway, where I don't even, where
That one area.
the line goes through the middle of some guy's house, So, anyway, okay. What?
They're still talking.
Oh, okay. Does Mrs. Ptak, you want to say something?
I just want again to say thank you so much for giving David this wonderful welcome home, Sergeant David Ptak, this wonderful welcome home. We're just so pleased. We want to thank you, Mayor Byrne, for allowing us to do this. To Officer Deputy John Petrello, thank you so much too. And for the village board for welcoming David home, and to the people of Vernon Hills, the village of Vernon Hills, for giving David a warm welcome home. I'd also like to recognize some of our family members at this time.
Sure.
David's brother Michael, David's sister Jennifer,
Okay,
and there's another sister who's at home not feeling good, Nicole,
okay.
and also for the Doherty family, Mr. Doherty, Michael Doherty, Alyssa's sister Sarah, there you are. Okay. And her brother Michael, and to the Blair family, Blake family, I'm sorry, the Blake family, thank you. And thank you to all of our family and friends for being here. I see our one of our neighbors, Ron, is here too. Thank you too, and Uncle Rich and Auntie Evie, thank you very much for being here. And again, thank you to the village and the entire community for everything.
Did you thank Ray?
And Ray, thank you too.
I would just like to thank everyone, Mayor Byrne, dignitaries, trustees, and all the dignified people from Vernon Hills here. What a great town. What a great town. And I want to especially say something. When he graduated at his boot camp training at Fort Leonard Wood, in that whole big army, that whole big armory, and all the people there, his commander says, we want to honor 4 soldiers for discipline. And they called out 3 soldiers, and then the 4th one was David. And that really made us proud, because every soldier came up and said their name and what town you're from. And when he said David Ptak, Vernon Hills, Illinois, it really touched me, And that shows the character of this town. To bring such a fine young man, when he was a little boy, I remember him waving to Pete in the Public Works truck and going up to the policeman when he was small and talking with the policeman, and and it's just overwhelming. What an all-American city, from all over the country, And that commander says we have the finest people here for our country to defend us, And that was a touching thing, But it just goes to show the character of this town, Where, hello, how are you? You walk down the street and everything else, and people say, hey, how you doing? How are you? And, and that's how it is. It's such a wonderful town. And I can't say enough about the Vernon Hills Police Department, the Police Explorers, which he joined when he was younger. And he was so thrilled to get into the Police Explorers and just to do anything he could do to help, And what a program. What a program. And again, and I know there's other Police Explorers there that are will grow up to be in law enforcement, grow up with, maybe in the federal government, work for the federal government, maybe, who knows, FBI, CIA, or whatever, you know. And they say they got their start with the Police Explorers, you know. So I do commend you for that program. And on that part, I would like to thank everyone, and there's so many other soldiers that are out there from Vernon Hills right now fighting and protecting our American way and the American dream, just like all our towns here, like Vernon Hills. So on that note, thank you very much.
All right, so I had to write mine down. I apologize.
That's all right. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon, all the board. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I have a long list of thank yous, so bear with me for a second,
Yeah,
please.
okay. Yeah, it's your night.
I got both people on either side of me, and I'd be in trouble if I didn't thank either one first. But I got to start off with my wife. Thank you for being there for me and our kids. Chief Patrol, like it's exactly like you said. The military spouse is the hardest job in the military. Even when I deploy, life doesn't stop for her. She was both the mom and the dad for our kids. And we're stronger together because of it. So my mom and dad, thank you for being supportive of me, especially during my deployment. Even now more than ever, now that I have kids, I could just imagine what you guys must feel, you know, when I go off to deploy. So thank you. My siblings, Jenny, Mike, and Nicole, who's not here right now, thank you for taking care of mom and dad and, you know, keep making sure that they don't worry. Uncle Rich and Auntie Evie, you've been there from the start, so thank you. They drove down to Fort Leonard Wood for both my graduations, so thank you. My father-in-law, Mike Doherty, sister-in-law, Sarah Doherty, and brother-in-law, Mike Doherty Jr., thank you for being an amazing aunt, uncle, and grandpa, and for also taking care of Alyssa while I was gone. To my other friends and family, thank you. Also, the list is huge, but my other brothers and sisters in arms. Thank you for my role models in the Vernon Hills Police Department when I was an explorer, most especially Officers Rodriguez, Berry Hill, and Mayer. All of them were all my role models. Thank you, Chief Petrillo and the Vernon Hills Police Department and Countryside Fire Protection District for this escort and this amazing recognition. This is such an honor to be here. It means so much that this type of recognition does exist. So I sincerely want to thank the Village of Vernon Hills. Everyone has a place they call home, and I'm proud mine is Vernon Hills. This is where I grew up, and this is where my heart is. Unfortunately, I still am a Stevenson fan, so. It's just such an honor to be here during this time of the year. You know, I used to love the 4th of July parade and summer celebration, and you know, I'm still here for another week, so thank you for giving me this recognition. I really do appreciate it.
Summer celebration then.
I love it, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah, get up. You know, I have a few things to say. One is, in particular, the proclamation we want to give you, David. So, Village of Vernon Hills is honored to recognize Sergeant David Ptak. Sergeant Ptak is a Vernon Hills resident and a 2008 graduate of Stevenson High School. David joined the United States Army in 2008 and completed his basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, receiving certification as a 31 Bravo military police, and upon completion was assigned to the 107th Military Police Company. He was stationed in Camp Buring, Kuwait in April 2013, providing patrol and support for forces conducting operations throughout the Middle East. And in Amman, Jordan, in October 2013, providing dignitary protective services for the U.S. Command Staff. Whereas the President, Board of Trustees, and the Village of Vernon Hills wish to express their sincere appreciation to Sergeant Ptak for his service to our country. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Roger L. Byrne, President, Board of Trustees, and the residents of Vernon Hills are privileged to honor U.S. Army Sergeant David Ptak for his service in the Middle East. Further, we declare July 15th, 2014 as U.S. Army Sergeant David Ptak Day in the Village of Vernon Hills. dated today and signed by me. So let me get you the plaque. You know, here you go. All right, David? Welcome home. Thank you for serving. Now, I got some other stuff. This is some good stuff that you can use. I'd like to present the gift certificate for the Ptak family, courtesy of Olive Garden, Vernon Hills. Welcome home. So, what do you want to take this, Ray? Let me see. And Alicia, you want to step forward, please? This is a Westfield Hawthorne welcome home for you. It's a shopping spree. So, absolutely. Okay. I got, this is for David, our honoree tonight. David, this is from the Westfield Shopping Mall, also a shopping spree. All right, David. Okay, that's all I have. Yeah. David, we'll get you a tape. You're on TV, right? How you doing?
Thank you.
All right, great. We'll get you a tape. You know what I mean? It's because we're on.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Thank you, David. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Great young man.
Thank you, man. Glad to see you.
Okay. The Ptak clan is at ease now.
You don't have to stay.
You don't have to stay.
You can go.
You can.
Thank you.
Take care. Absolutely.
Bye-bye now. Go enjoy them. He looks just like him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, one reminder, which summer celebration begins Thursday, and we have, who's the entertainment for Thursday night?
King by Friday.
Oh, King by Friday.
Right.
Okay. All right, fireworks will be at 9:15. The band King by Friday will start at 7 p.m. Followed on Friday night, Modern Day Romeos, Mike and Joe. And the 20th or the 19th, we have Sister Hazel. But prior to Sister Hazel, we have The Farm, which is, was it country rock?
Yeah. Yep.
So The Farm, I mean, and apparently they're like somebody that, people could be actually buying their music pretty soon,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, just for the record, along those lines with, country and western, we had Billy Ray Cyrus here one year, Miley's dad, and he had an achy, breaky heart. That was, I don't know if he had any other songs after that. But then we had, a couple years after that, we had Toby Keith, that actually performed there, so. And then I can go on. Marie Osmond
Oh,
and
goodness.
Donnie. No, not Donnie, just Marie.
Just Marie.
Anyway,
Just Marie.
so anyway, everybody's invited. It's all free and, have a nice time. And this is all online, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay, next item is omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through F?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Unfinished business, approval of Kemper voucher list of bills dated July 15th, 2014 in the amount of $13,481.49. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schwartz?
Abstain.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
For the record, I'd vote aye. Motion carries. Approval of the July 1st, 2014 Village Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions, corrections, deletions? If none, roll call, please.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Any new business or communication to come before the board?
I have
Yeah, trustee
Dave Brown.
Hebda.
I'm just wondering, I've been driving around and I notice in like the corporate parks, the ash trees that are dead. Wondering, is there a plan in motion to have these developers go in and take care of those trees? When you look on Deer Path, the old Wick site has a bunch of dead trees. I know that CEP's been doing work, but I don't know about Corporate Woods or some of the other small strip centers that have the ash trees, which are looking pretty bad.
Yes, staff is doing an outreach to the business community. We've started on that. We have contacted CEP. We've also had discussions with Corporate Woods. So just asking what their plans are. If they need any technical assistance, we're there to assist.
Okay, appreciate it, yeah. Just looking pretty, I mean, you can see the impact of what this disease has done, and it's really taken apart a lot of trees. And I think we're 50% there with our replacement, or
We've
everything's
crossed-
been put in the ground, correct? It's been
Yes,
done.
for this year, all 1,150 trees
Great.
have been removed and replanted. And yes, we're just over 50% done with the program.
And I think we're fortunate, we've had the rain and the cool weather, so that's probably helped us a little bit too, so. But thank you again for that.
Just
Trust-
as a
Trustee,
follow-up.
wait a second. Trustee Markwart?
Yes, of last week, just wanted to, we had Pipe City, our American lacrosse that came to town. It was 200 teams and about 20,000 people. A big thanks to Public Works for their hard work in setting it up. The high school for its ability for also being able to use the high school. American Register, the same. To the police department for their excellent job with guidance. I do know that Jimmy John's ran out of bread, but we were a little busy on this weekend, but it went very well, and actually it is the largest lacrosse tournament in the Midwest. And hats off to our village for doing a great job. Park District also, I have to admit, too, on there that I missed out. So thank you.
You gonna put your light in?
I was just going to follow up on her comment. Just, again, kudos to our Public Works folks on the Emerald Ash Borer, because my kids live in Mundelein, and it looks like Dresden in 1945. I'd
Yeah.
say over 50% of their trees are dead, leafless.
The Parkway trees? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's really,
yeah.
really sad throughout all these communities, and kudos to our guys for being on top of it and staying ahead of it and
Yeah.
keeping us as Tree City.
Absolutely. And this is an addendum to what Mike Marquardt said about the lacrosse tournament. It was held on 25 fields and took every, piece of open land at the VHAC. And it also, there was 25 acres that was utilized that belongs to American Hotel Register. And I'd like to thank Tom Leahy and the people that work at American Hotel Register. They had over 240 volunteers out there assisting in any way that they were needed. So, and obviously Tom is one of our excellent corporate citizens, so I just wanted to thank them. Okay, Trustee Schwartz.
We're bouncing back and forth between trees and soccer, but back to the trees. I've gotten quite a few comments from residents that were just completely amazed at how swiftly, between the taking out and the grinding and then new beautiful trees put in, they just said they couldn't believe it. They've never lived in a town that's been that efficient and has done such a great job, so.
Okay. When this is something maybe I could turn Dave Brown loose on. I know we cannot incur the expense to go on private property to take trees down, but I wonder if there's a way to, figure out how many trees there are that are on homeowners' property and into, the corporate business parks to see if we can get somebody that would give people a deal. Because I know, like over in Grosse Pointe where we saved, thousands of trees from the old Fiore nursery, there's people over there that got, 6, 7, 8 ash trees in their backyard. So, I wonder if we could talk to the guys that, or several, actual tree removal companies that would they give us a package deal even for the residents?
Some communities are approaching it that way. We certainly can do an outreach to our contractors and the business community, try to put them in contact with one another and try to give them better pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I can't, if we took down 3,600, it's probably
Oh, my God.
3 times that on private property.
Every bit of that.
Yeah.
Every bit of that.
Okay, all right, any other business come before the board? If not, we're gonna go into closed session to discuss litigation and personnel.
Correct.
Okay, after committee of the whole, we will not come back out and conduct any business. So is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go to committee of the whole?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Schwartz?
Schwartz?
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item of business is Menards.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, okay. Number 1, approval of committee of the whole meeting minutes of July 1st, 2014. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any comments or questions, corrections, deletions? If not, roll call.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2, Menards Incorporated. Consideration of the report and recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding various items, including the proposed landscaping plan, architectural elevations for Lot 1, site lighting plan, and building and site signage plans for property commonly known as the Greg's Landing North commercial parcel located at the intersection of Milwaukee Avenue and Greg's Parkway. Who's leading off?
Oh, I can do that. Thank you, Your Honor. As you stated, the representatives of Menards appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 9th to present their plans for Menards in relation to the remaining outstanding items previously referenced. That would be the landscape plans, architectural elevations for Lot 1, site lighting plan, and building and site signage plans. As you will recall, the petitioner had previously appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 28th, as well as the Committee of the Whole on June 17th, where both the Commission and the Committee voted to approve a special use permit to allow for the planned unit development consisting of 4 lots, preliminary and final site improvement plan, and the preliminary and final approval of the plat of subdivision. The outstanding items did appear before, again, the Commission on July 9th. Those items, with the exception of one, were unanimously approved. The unanimously approved items were the landscaping plans, architectural elevations for Lot 1, and the building and site signage plans. The other item was a 6-0 to 1 with 1 voting present, approval of the site lighting plan. A number of conditions of approval were made, a total of which were 26. I'll just read 3 of those. They're items 1 through 3 in your packets. Those are specifically related to landscaping and ensuring that the agreements that will be put forth between Menards and the adjacent HOAs, this provides a framework for those agreements. That's something that's still ongoing and still being discussed. However, by placing these under a condition of approval, it allows us to provide some feedback and input into the process. Those involve the Libertyville Condominium Association, Menards entering into an agreement to install 4 to 5 trees on the Libertyville property. It also includes a number of items, A through F, related to the Bay Hill Homeowners Association. Those include the planting of 18 additional trees, which will be reviewed and approved both by Bay Hill and the village's landscape technician. It also includes a 3-year warranty for the Bay Hill landscaping. It also includes Menards agreeing to maintain landscaping both through irrigation and overall maintenance through their access through their own property. It also includes a condition of approval stating that Menards will install the landscaping on the western berm by the end of 2014 or the beginning phase of construction, whichever is earliest. This allows for the landscaping to be installed prior to complete construction to provide the most opportune screening that we can provide. It should be noted that the Planning and Zoning Commission was very positive towards the architectural renderings. Those were included in your packets. And as I stated before, Menards and village staff is continuing to work with Bay Hill and Libertyville Condominium Association to work together for agreements to provide landscaping along both the western property line and the northern property line. If the Committee of the Whole feels that the request is appropriate, it is recommended that staff be directed to prepare the necessary ordinance granting approval of the following: preliminary and final approval of the landscaping plans, preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations for Lot 1, preliminary and final approval of the site lighting plan, and lastly, final approval of the building and site signage plans. These approvals would be subject to the compliance with the variations and conditions of approval listed above. And the petitioner is here to answer any questions.
Okay. We got the drawings that are going to come up here, the renderings on screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
No, it needs to go on the higher one. There you go.
Joe, can I ask you a good question? Is this information been shared with all the residents?
It has been sent to the local HOAs, yes.
So how many copies were?
They were sent electronically.
Okay. So some of the folks in here have these drawings.
They went to their HOA.
Their HOA has it.
It just went to the homeowner association, the board?
Yes.
Correct.
The board members, okay.
Okay.
And they would distribute it.
Okay. Why don't we do this? How many copies of this do we have? Or is it all electronic?
It was all electronic.
Okay.
You want copies of that?
Is it in the packet that is on the thumb drive or whatever
Yes.
was loaded?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, why don't you make about 10 sets of these, the colored ones, okay? Is there anything else that we should?
Roger?
What? Yeah. Who attended the P and Z meeting from the residents?
Check.
Okay.
It's more than half.
All right.
So did you see the
They had to.
color renderings at P and Z when you were there?
They had to.
Did you see the colored renderings at the P and Z committee meeting?
It was small, and where we sat, I could not see any people.
Was it on this screen?
Yep. It's on our screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you beam something up here?
Sure.
My name is Scotty.
Are you sure?
Big, big, big.
I was thinking.
We know
Shall
where
I
it's at.
go?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Tom O'Neill with Menard Incorporated, 5101 Menard Drive, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Again, I'm here on behalf of Menards relative to Menards at Greg's Landing North. We are, of course, obviously excited to become a part of the village, and we're looking for your recommendation or the actual approval of the Plan Commission's recommendation to allow us to go forward. There are 4 items, I believe, before the village board this evening: elevations, landscaping, photometrics, and signage that were holdovers from our previous go-round back in June. At the latest Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we presented the PowerPoint that is before you this evening that had shown updated elevation drawings as well as 360-degree rendering views of the proposed store. And the drawings that have evolved to this point have been a collaborative effort through workshop sessions with individual members of the board, with Planning and Zoning Commission members and their specialized expertise, staff, as well as HOA input. And we think what we've come up with has been a learning process for everybody, and as a result of all the influences, we're pretty proud of the elevation plan that we're presenting before the village. Again, just to go a little bit back in time, talking about site plan layout, just to give a little background again. The Menards store that we're proposing through a number of iterations of site plans has been an evolutionary process, and we're proposing the Menards store to face Milwaukee and to be located in the northwest quadrant of the property. Entry would be through the very north side, both for our commercial truck traffic and guest vehicular traffic that's entering the lumberyard. The Menards shopping experience is such that we want our folks to go through the store, make their purchases, but not have to cart their material purchases through the store itself. So we direct them to the lumberyard to pick up their bulk purchases. Again, this is a 2-story store. So again, what we try to do to separate ourselves from our competition is very bright, well-lit stores, wide aisles, easy to shop, not not a warehousey feel in any way, manner, shape, or form. You can notice the lighting, the second floor nature of this, the extended moving walkways that allow our guests as well as our guest carts and merchandise to move from floor to floor, elevator access from floor to floor as well. The elevation plan for the store, again, as indicated, has been an evolutionary process, and what we've come up with is several tones of brick color to provide some relief. And we're talking relief not only in terms of color, but material types, with a split face block that would be at the knee wall at the base of the store and wrapping around the store, with a darker brown earth tone element as far as a brick above that, and a lighter earth tone brick above that. This is a reverse from previous plans that came before the Plan Commission and probably this board, due to some influences from the architects, both on the Plan Commission and our own architect, who wanted to see a lighter element at the top of the store to sort of allow the top of the store, the second store, to blend into the background and not make it so obtrusive. What we've also done is we've incorporated a more dominant entrance feature with the expansion of the elements as far as the second floor here and here bumping out to give the store front entrance some critical mass. Repeating themes as far as the canopies above those entrance and exit, as well as the garden center, and some rectilinear windows that are symmetrical along the storefront to also break up that facade. Had this trouble with the Plan Commission as well. As it relates to the building materials, we are looking at a split face block along the base of the store with individually laid utility brick of two tones going in ascending order along the storefront and the southern elevation. And we're proposing for the rear elevation, the west elevation, to utilize a panelized construction that would be constructed similar in nature to this, but with an imprint and then painted to match the front and south elevations of the store. That rear elevation would be similar in nature to the Lowe's store and the Mariano's that incorporate a panelized construction on the rear-facing wall. Going back to the renderings, the architect put together a 3D model for the project. Well, before that, we'll look at this element first. This element is along the storefront, and it shows a combination of the various material types that are incorporated into the store. And we selected this view because of what it depicts as far as materials that break up the color from a horizontal perspective and from a vertical perspective. Material changes as far as the split-face concrete block. Again, giving it some dimension, giving it some mass here, and also just tying in with the rectilinear windows above and breaking up the entirety of that facade. So here in this one particular element, you're looking at incorporation of several different colors of brick, some vertical elements to break up that facade, different material types, and some introduction of the windows to also help break up the facade. And again, going back to the last statement, the architect put together a 3D model which shows the store from a number of different viewpoints and sort of lays some of those concepts out before in a more three-dimensional view. This would be from the southeast looking to the northwest. More of a street level human viewpoint, again looking to the northwest. And this viewpoint does a good job of demonstrating that breakup in materials and tone and color. One of the other elements that is before the board tonight is relative to signage. We have both the sign elements from the Menards store itself, that being the symbol and the Menards store lettering, as well as the garden center language, but also the signage relative to the entry at Milwaukee and the commercial entrance into the development, and then off of Greg's. These have been designed from the standpoint of trying to replicate the signage at Greg's Commercial South, but again, incorporating material types that have been selected for the Menards store instead. So again, you'll see the same repeating themes to draw the whole development together. With that, I'm going to give way to our consultant team. Glenn Christensen at Manhard put together the landscape architecture for the overall project. I'm going to ask him to give a short presentation about the landscaping that's been proposed for the development. On standby, we also have Bill Woodward with KLOA to talk about traffic-related issues in the event there's any questions relative to that, and also John Brown at V3 Consulting to talk about anything relative to the civil engineering design, if there's any questions about that. So I'm going to cede the floor to Glenn.
Thank you.
Glenn, it should be, again, these first 5 or 6 slides.
Okay.
And then there's the profile views right
Okay.
after that. If you,
Here's our pointer.
yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Use this just to move the mouse
Yeah,
around.
all right.
And this to go back and forth.
Okay. My name's Glenn Christensen. I'm Senior Landscape Architect with Manhard Consulting. We were hired by Menards after their first submittal of a landscape plan. The landscape plans you see in front of you now are the result of 2 different staff reviews. So they've been amended twice per your staff. We've also met with the 2 neighboring homeowners associations to talk about the landscaping, explain it to them, and talk about some additional landscaping. We've tried to provide a variety of plant material on the site for colors throughout the year, native plant materials, and obviously a variety of plant materials. I know you talked about the emerald ash borer before, and we try to split up the plant material types. We don't know what's coming down the line next, hopefully nothing, but we don't want to be completely wiped out, and we provided a variety of plant material, hopefully so that situation wouldn't arise. All the plant material selected is locally grown, and it's hardy for the area. And as I mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit of plant material on the site. This is the front of the store. I'll orient you a little bit. Milwaukee Avenue is here on the top. North is over on this direction, and the front of the store here. So what we see is the parking field in front of the store, the existing detention pond, future outlet in front, and another outlet on the side. All the islands are planted with trees and ground covers. The existing detention pond will be reworked and planted with native plant materials. Plant material added around the detention pond area, and street trees provided along Milwaukee Avenue. And again, there's the entry off of Milwaukee Avenue will have a center island, entry island here with plant material, perennials, ornamentals, some ornamental grasses, and columnar trees.
Who did you work with from staff? Who did you work with?
The landscape technician, he did a couple reviews on this, and we've been working with the 2 administrators.
Tom Brentman.
Okay, so what's, what kind of, I guess trees are you actually putting up? I mean, and what's the caliper?
Caliper trees, for deciduous trees, they're all at least 3 inches in caliper. The ornamental trees, I believe, are 8 to 10 feet in height. What's significant, and I'll go to the next one, next slide here. This is the rear of the store.
Right.
Which shows a significant amount of evergreen plantings. There's a berm that runs along the west side of the store right here. And then we've got an area here of plantings. We were requested to increase the size of the evergreens. I believe the ordinance calls for 6 foot. All our evergreens are either 8, 10, or 12 feet in height, and it's about a...
What kind of Are you talking any kind of pine trees back there?
Yeah, those are evergreens, spruce, Norway spruce, I gotta look at my list here.
Any white pines?
No white pine.
Is there a particular reason?
White pines really don't do good in exposed areas, and this would be a pretty exposed area. Haven't had a real success with white pine. Tend to use those in a protected area.
Wait. What's planted along Route 83?
83, you mean, oh, what's?
Not white pines.
By Grosse Point. What kind of pine was it?
I think there's a couple of varieties of pines in there. I don't believe they're white pines.
But we don't know for sure.
I was out there today. I think there's some spruce trees in there. There's some Austrian pines.
But it's very dense.
It is.
Okay. So, I mean, are we thinking, is that what we're talking here?
Yeah.
The same kind of plant materials?
Yeah.
Because the pine trees grow a lot higher than 10 or 12 feet.
Well, that's at installation.
What's that?
That's the size at installation.
Okay. So they go up to what, 20 plus feet?
No, they go up to about 40 or 50 feet.
Okay.
And it's important that we don't crowd them out because as they tend to touch, then they start dropping their lower needles.
Right,
So
right.
placement's important.
Yeah, they obviously they can get big because that's what we use for the holiday tree on the golf course, which that was transplanted, I think from obviously someone in town. Yeah, okay.
But if you also notice on the plan is that the smaller circles here, the inner circles about 6 feet around and the outer circles 15 feet around, that's required per your ordinance to indicate how the future growth is going to be for those pine trees. So I think if you look at this, that they will all eventually come together and form a wall. We've got some deciduous trees higher up on the berm. So between the evergreens and the deciduous trees, I think we'll have a pretty good screening of the back of that store.
So what's the height of the berm?
Height of the berm, I think, runs from about 8 to 10 feet right now that exists out there. I might add that in the agreement with the homeowners associations, that those trees will not be planted until the store is built and the plant material is installed. And once that's all installed, then we'll go out with the homeowners association with, last sticks and put the locations of those trees where they're needed in the gaps, fill the gaps, and hopefully that'll be will also help with the screening. Might add, there's a considerable amount of plant material too already planted on the residential side of this. You can see the small circles down there. It's pretty small and kind of light, but there is plant material there already. So I think between the new plant material in Menards, the existing plant material, the berm, and then the supplemental plantings, I think we'll have a pretty good job there.
So are you
screening.
saying some of the existing trees were planted when the development was completed?
Correct.
No, in other words, years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any trees back here?
But it's, yeah. Well, it was
And there'll also be plantings along the north property line. And,
Are there any trees over there?
I'm sorry?
Trees?
Yeah, it'll be deciduous trees and evergreens all along that area there. It's about 30.
Currently, what type of foliage is there now?
There's a sparse kind of hedgerow material. I think most of it's volunteer. A lot of that stuff will come out, and then we'll go in and replant on the Menard side, and then supplement it where needed on this side as well.
But then as you get a little further east, there are some significantly mature trees, but are they all on Libertyville property?
They're on the Libertyville property, along the bank property there, yeah, and there's a real nice hedgerow there as well, so row of bushes there, pretty mature. And again, this is the other back portion of the Menards that will continue along the berm here. And then also along the wall, we will accent the wall that's there with plant material and break up that mass as well from the view from the Greg's Parkway over here.
Okay. Go ahead.
We'll also have some landscaping at the entry aisle. This is Greg's Parkway here. We've got a detail for the entry aisle in here, and then there'll be some signage out there with landscaping with the signage as well. And here's some of the details for that. It's kind of small, it's hard to see at this scale. But we provided, we think, a pretty good entrance landscaping to highlight that situation.
Yeah, go back to the trees, okay, so this, whoa, next one. So this is the,
These are planting details to be utilized by the landscape contractor. This just shows how we'd like a deciduous tree planted, evergreen trees, ornamental trees, tree in an island. These are how ground cover and perennials should be planted. Just some grading notes for the parking lot islands, and then edging the planting beds, a little detail there, and then the shrub planting.
is there any sprinkler system going to be involved?
Yes, the site will have full irrigation system.
Well, you mean the front of the site or the back of the site, or?
Say, with the amount of plant material, let's say the front of the site, the islands, the entry, and the rear berm back there will have a sprinkler system as well.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I guess with that, I think we've done an overall pretty good job with distributing the landscape materials. Again, just throw some numbers out. We've got a 17-acre site, and on that 17-acre site, we've got 117 deciduous canopy trees, 62 ornamental trees, 121 evergreen trees that range in size of 8-foot, 10-foot, and 12-foot at installation, 818 deciduous and evergreen shrubs, and about 620 perennials and ornamental grasses. So I believe we've got a significant amount of plant material on that site. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I echo some of the statements that Glenn made relative to landscaping. Again, landscaping plans like the elevations plan, like the site plan, as we've all been discussing this project for the last number of months now, has been an evolutionary process. And with where we've come to date, I think the profile views that we've put together relative to the neighboring properties, these would be from looking from the west to the east and from the one view from the north to the south, demonstrate the various levels of buffering that we've come up with over time, whether it be the existing landscaping that's out there today, whether it's a double hedgerow or a double row of trees that are going in, many at or exceeding minimum landscaping installation requirements of the village, whether it's the setback in that 20-foot area for those tree plantings, the additional area for the water main easement, and then the additional buffering allowed for by the pallet racking fence that surrounds our lumberyard. And then after the fact, come back in on the Bay Hill property and installing another 18 additional trees over here and 5 on the Libertyville property. These are a number of different steps that we've went with to try and ensure that this the buffering is multiple disciplinary, I suppose, as far as landscaping, distance, elevation changes, fence line, and then going back in after the fact with additional plantings with the homeowners association later on down the road.
Okay. With that said, you know, I know the P&Z commission obviously has looked at this very closely, and I know I've sat in on a couple of meetings with you and your architect, you know, to go over the changes that specifically Commissioners Hesner and Mulcrone, you know, really wanted. So are you saying that those have now been incorporated, you know, per
Most of their comments were relative to the store elevations, the architecture of the store, but yes.
Okay. All right, are there any comments from staff on this? Or?
I'll jump in. I guess in terms of the landscape plan, I think what staff has tried to do with Joe and John's approach is to have us discuss things with the homeowners associations that are impacted, they're immediately adjacent to it, bring them into meetings, go through it, see what their needs are, see what the impacts, and have a discussion. They have revised the plan. I'd love to hear as far as whether or not the adjacent homeowners association feels that it's been addressed or not, but they certainly have done a good attempt to do that. I know they have the photometric plan up right now. One of the concerns that were raised through the process was, maybe the decorative lights are a little bit bright, and could that be mitigated? So the recent photometric plan that's been submitted has a couple of decorative lights, minimal, right off of Greg's Parkway in the magazine median area, and there's a few off of Milwaukee Avenue too. But the rest of the site, the ornamental lights have been eliminated, and we're using parking lot style lights that are shoebox, that the light is directed directly down. So we've went through that with them. They've made those changes. An area that could impact Bay Hill would be the lumber yard and the lighting of the lumber yard. So certainly the lights within the parking lot, I've looked at that. They're tilting them up slightly, 15 degrees, to point them away from the residential towards the building. I think that's going to impact it. Most of the impacts that I see or hear from residents and observed on my own is when you start seeing the light source. You look straight at the light source, that is not a good thing. The light that splashes onto the pavement itself doesn't really cause concern. So it's really trying to address the light source and get that away from the view of the residents. So that's what they've proposed to do.
Nice.
Okay. Is there anyone, who have you been discussing this with specifically at the HOAs?
Well, we've worked specifically with excuse me, Holly with Bay Hill, as well as Joe from and Chet from HOA.
Well, does anyone want to speak to this landscape plan from the homeowners associations?
I'd like to speak to the architectural plans. If you want somebody to speak for the landscaping plans, you could have them speak first.
Well, yeah, is there anybody that wants to speak to the landscaping plans? I mean, what's been discussed with anybody from the HOA?
I'm Holly Estel. I'm president of the Bay Hill Board. I'm at 1971 Crenshaw Circle. I feel, well, okay. I can say I have a little bit of experience with landscaping because I planned the education programs at the Chicago Botanic Garden I was there for 16 years. I worked with a lot of professionals providing education to them, and in the process, learned a little bit. When I saw the plan that was presented by Glenn Christensen at the workshop that we were invited to attend, I felt I was very pleased with what I saw, with the variety of trees and evergreens, the sizes of them, and the way that they've tried to work with us to put them on the berm to establish a screen between the Bay Hill community and the Menards building. So I think we're on the right track, and we really appreciate the way that Menards has tried to work with us in that way.
Okay.
So those are my comments from a novice, not a professional. Thank you.
Well, 16 years is,
long
gives you some credibility. Okay,
There was another lady.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Sorry. I was coming. I was coming.
Take it easy.
Okay. All right, I'm Joan Sheldon, on the board for Libertyville Ridge, 1203 Briarwood in Libertyville. Last week, we met with the zoning and talked about the landscape. When we were there, they talked about the firm planning ideas for the west side, the south side, and the east side, and they said they're still working on the north side. And when Tom came up, and then I asked a few questions, and he also, talked to the civil engineers. Each one of the four people nobody was really sure, and when I'd asked, they hadn't been on the property, they were looking at, people come out and take the measurements and stuff. Our concern here is, first of all, a berm. And when I'd spoken to them, one of the gentlemen that came up last week to talk to me said, well, 2 feet of the berm is going to be in place. And I stated that that whole berm is on Menards property. None of it is on Libertyville Ridge property. And I asked him if he'd been out, and he said no, he'd gotten measurements. So it concerns me because none of the four of them had a consensus of what was going on. And I would really appreciate if somebody would come out, stand there with us and say, this is what's going on, not just taking measurements from somebody else and then making the plans at the office. We have several ideas from the board. First of all, the board, as a consensus, is very appreciative to Vernon Hills for letting us have some input on this. We really do appreciate that. And we came to a consensus as a board that we really appreciate you also Menards putting in 4 to 5 extra bare spot trees besides the others that are gone up. We have the 23 feet to the property line. And then there's a lot of trees there and then the berm. And our questions are those big trees going to come down? The berm, the 6-foot berm, what we would really like is to keep the berm there, because where the pond is, there's 14 feet after the pond, then the berm, and then 14 more feet, and then our property, which gives plenty with the pond there at Bay Hill if there's any overflow. Where the swale is, the property line is 23 feet to our foundation. And if the swale gets any water, that all goes right into our foundation. And one of the questions the board asked is, who's going to pay for that water going in there? Who's responsible for that water damage? They've come, couple things, keep the berm where it is or make it a little bigger, then put the swale, put the landscaping on the berm, then you have the swale, then you have your brick wall. Can you put a berm and not have a swale and put a larger drainage ditch in there, or larger pipe? I don't know if that even goes, but this was one of our landscape and our tree people said that. So these were things just, but the swale we're concerned about, David, with there, and we would just, our landscape director and trees, we'd all loved the opportunity to meet with you guys out there and just show you our concerns.
We'll schedule some time to go out there. I have no problems.
That'd be awesome, Dave. Thank you very much.
And maybe, let me help a little bit more. Right now, the reason you don't have all the answers that you're looking for is we're asking those questions to make sure they're being addressed. They're working through it. We don't have 100% of the answers, but here's what we will end up doing. I want to make sure that the existing detention pond, when it overflows, it continues and goes easterly, stays within Vernon Hills, and continues towards
Southeasterly.
Very good.
Southeasterly. Don't just go east. We're in trouble.
Yeah, well, southeast is going to go into the Menards store, so we're going to go
No,
east.
but still, the southeasterly, not quite Menards. It will angle off towards Chase when it's going southeast. If it goes straight east, it's going towards us.
It will not go northerly. It's going to continually going towards Milwaukee Avenue. Right now, we understand that even before Greg's Landing started, there was some drainage concerns within your association. People flood. We understand that. In terms of this, we will look at that pond. We'll look at the emergency overflow. When that pond overtops, we don't want it going towards Libertyville. We want it to continue towards Milwaukee Avenue. We're asking those questions. So really, they go through some calculations. They design how wide this needs to be to keep that water contained and continue towards Milwaukee Avenue. With that, then we can start talking about how we berm and landscape. We tried to save before when Zale built the original Greg's Landing, and with the water main, we tried to save those large trees. I want to make sure when that pond overtops, there's sufficient grade, and it is going, again, to Milwaukee Avenue. So whether or not some of those old trees are in play or not, we have to find out those answers. They will do a topo, they'll look at it and make sure that happens. They'll give me calculations, make sure that it's done, and we will make sure that that water goes in that direction. So in terms of the actual landscaping and where the swale should be, we need to make sure first no one's flooding or no additional runoff goes towards you.
Right.
It'll be cut out and it'll be shaped that way. Then we start planting the landscaping afterwards. We want to make sure the landscaping's on top of the berm, try to screen it as much as possible.
And as far as those two big trees between 1259, 1261, there's two big ones there. The homeowners are fine if those go, because you're putting up the landscape, because that kind of would impact the swale there, and they have no problem if you're taking those down.
So
There's
we need
two
to-
of them there.
Okay, so we need to spend some time out in the field. I'll
Yeah,
meet
well,
with
we've
you.
been out there a lot, talking, looking as a board, talking about it, but the rest of it is all your buckthorn.
Yep.
And the one question with the railroad ties, that would be another question. You have the railroad ties in there that are, they're 4 feet, 5 feet high because our land drops straight down. And our property line is right there, and if you take away all that buckthorn and all that other stuff, will the homeowners are concerned those railroad ties are just going to come, and then the land will crash right at there. I mean, it will come down. I can show you, it's going to eat away or rot away. So they're a little concerned with that. So when you look out there, you can see when we go out there, and you can see what we're talking about. The other, the Chase Bank bushes, are they staying? Because like at Bay Hill, those bushes block Chase Bank. I don't look at it, but the Bay Hill second story people look that way. Are those bushes on Menards property or Chase Bank property? And will they come down, those big thick bushes? They really divide the property right now.
We'll look at it specifically, but I suspect they're on Chase's property, but we'll verify that.
Okay.
So I was out there this evening. I ran into a couple of your neighbors. They were wondering why someone with a tie was coming out of the woods. They didn't understand that. I explained it. So we'll meet with you, and we'll go out there and try to resolve it.
We just appreciate the communication, and, I've been to most of these meetings, and I thank you very much, you guys. Our board thanks you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Trustee Cook.
Yeah, so we're clear on this. One of the things I'd like to make sure we're clear on this is that in discussions with Village Manager Kalmar, he used the term, and I like the term, the marching orders should be that the water stays on the Menard site. Absolute. This should improve the drainage of that area, not create a problem. And I want that to be in the plans to the satisfaction of our engineers, not necessarily yours, with all respect. I want our guys to say, yeah, the water's going to stay there and the drainage is going to be better than it has been.
What's happened?
It should be foregone. It's gotta
What
stay.
all the rain we've had this season is the detention pond overflowed?
I don't
In
believe.
April, it got up there close, going right there, sir, in those big rains twice. We've had big rains, April and May, and it got right there. It was on almost to the top of the berm by the Menard side, because the water's coming off the pond, and then it's going into that swale, so it was almost to the top of the berm there.
But it didn't
Back
but it didn't.
twice.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And just to help with that, there is a large open grate that at the end of the detention pond, so it doesn't go in the wrong direction, it goes into that structure. There's a big pipe carrying it underground, and then there's the overland. But I think we got our marching orders as far as what we need to do with the drainage,
all right.
and we'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one lady over here that had her hand up.
Yes.
Hi, my name is June Gross, and I live at 1966 Crenshaw. I am on the top. I see the entire building. I see the Chase building, where those trees are, which we're not sure if they're going to be going away or not. We're wondering about that one. But also, I don't think we've ever really discussed now, I know that there's a wrought iron fence around the side of the building, the front of the building, with a brick wall. What is going to be in the back of the building? What type of material, what fencing is going to be there? Is it a brick wall? Is it going to be a wood fence? Nobody has given us or shown us what that's going to look like. And that is something that I see and will see, and all of the neighbors on the top will see, no matter how many trees you put up, and also concerned that, are you going to be taking care of this fence? Because a wood fence, if you look at any development or any, you go down Lake Cook Road or any of those wood fences, you're going to see they're all crooked. They don't stay well. So what is the material going to be used, and how much are we going to see? And will they continue with that brick wall and the wrought iron fence in addition to putting bushes and trees?
And the answer is?
Ask them, what is your fence gonna be?
Okay.
Hello. We are proposing a 14-foot high wood fence that would run along the western boundary of the lumberyard, that would separate our lumberyard from the property to the west. Skip to that one. Bear with me. This is a view here that shows the plan and profile presentation. Again, this is Bay Hill back here to the west, and as you proceed to the east, you get to the property line. There you see the double row of plantings, and then the water main easement, and then you get to the 14-foot high wood fence. We, over time, have incorporated the wood fence. It's a treated lumber fence. It's 14 feet in height for a number of different reasons. It's opaque in nature, so you don't have to look inside of it. You don't have to, it keeps light inside of it. It keeps sound inside of it. We've intentionally went away from wrought iron and chain link fences in those portions of the site that we're trying to protect view corridors from for those purposes. That's the very nature of why we've made it opaque. That's one of the founding reasons that we've
What is
evolved.
it, board on board?
Board on board.
And what type of material is it going to be made out of?
It's a treated lumber. It's 2x8s that are 14 feet in length, 14 feet high.
You look
In your presentation in the packet, we got electronically, it's wrought iron on a
That's the
stone
side
base.
part. That's the side.
Well, it's yeah, that's on the south side. So if we look at this plan here, this stretch here, this might be wrought iron here, but this stretch here is wood, 14 feet high, wood to the corner, and then wrought iron wrapping around in this direction here.
And-
Am I looking at a different plan than you are?
No, I'm just clarifying where the wrought iron was that
Okay.
was in the pictures. Whose maintenance of that?
Menards Incorporated maintains it. We look at it, it serves multiple functions from our standpoint. Again, we utilize it for those purposes of screening our lumberyard and trying to keep sight lines and sound within our lumberyard. But from a Menard utilitarian purpose, we have product that's on the inside of this in the lumberyard, and so it has a utilitarian purpose from our standpoint, and also as a security function. That's partly why it's opaque in nature. That's why it's board on board. That's why it's 14 feet in height. So we're vested in ensuring that the maintenance of that is upkept all the time.
So you're also assuring that the trees are going to cover that 14-foot very
You're on a berm.
strange wood fence that's going to be on our property?
You get-
The
you
wood
get
fence
three-
is on
you get
our
three rows of
property.
trees that go up the
Going
berm.
up the berm.
But they're not higher than the 14-foot.
They're
fence.
8,
Look at the drawing, it's 27 feet high that the trees are gonna get up to.
Up to.
well, there's
That's
8
that
foot,
drawing up.
10 foot, and 12-foot trees that are going to be planted
If you look
on the
straight up,
berm.
On top.
that's the drawing he's talking about.
See the bottom
So
section
here we
of
have
it?
initial planting heights.
It's hard to see it with.
And here we have, as per their maturity heights, as far as those trees are depicted.
Use the landscape plan that he was using.
Yes,
Right.
that's true.
And then what's going to be on the ground there? Because I remember when we talked about Sports Authority, I think it was even actually here, and they were talking about putting outside things for 3 weeks. This board said that that's not the way they like to do things. Now, are we going to see all of the wood pallets and all of that? I mean, I was at the Menards in Long Grove, and I see how they've done the back of their store. How is this store going to look in relevance to that store?
Backyard.
Because they have very large walls, concrete walls that hide that. It's kind of inside with a concrete wall. It's not actually laying out there. How is this store going to compare?
That's one of the reasons that we as a company have evolved our site plan over time to have such an expansive lumberyard, is to try to make it a very clean operation. You don't see a lot of products sitting out and around the exterior. I mean, you don't see products sitting around and outside of our fence line. We look at that as a huge security risk, unlike some of our competition. All of that is contained within the lumberyard area.
So it's within the lumberyard area, the fence is behind it, but as a second-story person, I will see everything that's out there. Is that correct?
At angles, I don't know.
Right.
I can't answer that.
Okay, thank
Don't
you.
forget, we're talking like they said, 27 feet. Never mind. She's not saying it.
I guess along those lines, Dave, where are the, the kind of ridge lines over there, as far as, obviously it gets lower going towards Milwaukee, right? Right.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so what, in addition to, the actual height of the building, what is at ground level right now? What's the elevation change from, the townhomes to the Menards property?
Boy, they've got a good cross-section that would really help me with that answer, if you could pull that up and answer it for me.
And again, this is a plan sheet that shows the next 5 slides as far as the overall view from the west at 4 different locations in Bay Hill, and then 1 from Libertyville from north to south. This first one is going to be the A view down here, looking east to west, and then B, C, D, and E.
Okay, so what?
Again, from a plan perspective, fence line, water main easement, double row of plantings, existing plantings, and this does not yet show the supplemental plantings that would be going in at a later date. Here's the profile view that again shows some of the existing plantings that are on the Bay Hill side of the property line to date, the double row of plantings that would be installed, the fence line, and then some maturity heights as all of those continue to grow over the years.
Okay, so what is the height, in Bay Hill, Dave?
So the top of foundation at that location of the building due west within Bay Hill, top of foundation 701. The foundation elevation finished floor for Menards is 5 feet lower.
So what is it?
696.
695, 690?
So it's 696 finished floor for Menards. 701 is the
All right, so
building.
Okay,
Bagel
so
building.
in addition to the height of the townhome, it's another 6 feet higher. The ground,
The ground is 6 feet higher for the Bay Hill home than the Menards building.
Right.
The first floor units.
Okay, so if I'm reading this right, it says second floor is at 711. So is that the top of the second floor of these townhomes?
No, I don't believe so.
That's the bottom.
Right.
Okay, and so then what would roughly the top of the second floor be? At
20.
Right.
At 720?
10
Okay,
footer.
and then these trees are gonna be higher than that, so,
Right.
okay. So when they look out, they're pretty much just gonna see the trees.
And at mature growth.
And how long does mature growth take?
They're going to be planted it.
They're 7 and something.
What's, how long is maturity?
Glenn Christensen would be better off answering that question.
Well, the base drawing there is as planted, correct? And then it shows the maturity as the second part of it,
That's correct.
correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So base planting, as they go in, they're going to be in the neighborhood of 718, 720,
Yes.
Right,
which is
yeah.
already going to be pretty close to.
Yeah, 8, 10, and 12 feet, you know, with the irrigation system there and probably decent soils, hopefully on that berm, you could expect, you know, a foot, maybe to 2 foot a year growth on those things. I mean, there's going to be some gaps in there when they're initially planted, but that, each year it gets better and it's going to fill in eventually, so. And I think that's where the supplemental plantings will come into. If there's a particular spot, we'll be able to fill that gap, so.
Thank you.
Can you show me the back of the building, the architectural design back? Because I want to go back to this woman's question about what's going to be in the back of the store. Okay. No? No, the one, no. Okay, got it. So as I'm looking at that, I see clean nothing. So you're telling me that's what it's going to look like all the time?
No, I mean, this is an elevation drawing of the store. We're trying to draw attention to the, give you a look at the store here. Well, we have material that is stored on the inside wall of the pallet racking,
That's the wall.
That's the wall.
That's the vent.
the fence. We have material that's stored up against some portions of the exterior portion of the wall. We have steps that are leading to the second floor. We have the entrance to this drive-through storage, yes. There's going to be material out here, but none of it would be stacked higher than the 14-foot high fence.
So it will be, it could be 14 feet though.
Could be.
And what did you say you saw at Long Grove? Nothing?
Oh, you can't see it.
Can you?
has a cement wall, so you don't actually see that. Inside, if I'm not mistaken.
This will be a wood wall.
There's a cement wall, and so everything's kind of inside that cement wall, and there's a top to it, so you drive into that part of it.
What is top of load on the pallet racking?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Or is it less than 14 feet, top of load?
Oh, as far as how high we stack the materials?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So basically, looking at it, and it's going to be within 4 to 5 feet of the fence, your pallet racking, right?
That's correct.
42-inch deep rack is
You're not gonna
industry
see it.
standard.
Yes.
You're not going to
Not gonna
see
see it.
anything. What you're going to see is basically the back of the building.
Yes.
And you're going to see 3 trucks, the potential for
Right.
3 trucks backed up to that. However, again, we've already stated, though, that with the trees as planted, they're going to be higher than the eaves of the hill, or the homes in Bay Hill. Is that correct?
25, yeah.
See, I don't
Come on, landscape architect. We've read the numbers, 696. Top of the hill is 711, or
720, the
Excuse-
7,
All right. Top of the berm there is,
735.
what, 705, 706.
So
Second floor elevation 711, so that
it's going to be,
second floor is 6 feet above the berm. If we plant 8, 10, 12-foot evergreen trees, those should block.
They'll be taller than the building.
We don't allow, and I think I've driven by Lowe's, there's nothing in the back there. So my concern is, I don't want you to put a bunch of stuff outside your building that's stored up there. I think it needs to be inside your building. I really have a
It's in the
problem with
yard.
that.
It's inside of the yard. You can't see it.
Yeah, but still, you don't allow it with Lowe's, and I don't think we should allow it here, and I don't want to see, and I asked you that 3 weeks ago when you were here. I said, I don't want to see railroad ties out there. I'm asking you to keep your materials in the building. You've got a huge building, and that's my expectation, and I believe you said you will do that for me. So now you're changing your tune, which bothers me.
Well, you
So-
got to ask me the correct question. I didn't know what you asked.
I
me.
asked you the correct question.
Oh, I'm not
sir.
sure if you did.
Oh, yes, I did.
No.
And if you want my support here, then I would ask you to do that as well, because I don't want that outside the building.
So
I want-
staff, do we have anybody in town that stores anything outside of the building? I mean, I know we've gone around on this several times with Walmart and with several other
Especially the
people.
fact that they're coming up to residential. Especially with the
Walmart
fact
has
that
it
you're up
on
by
their-
residential.
Well,
I think-
Their garden
maybe just a
area,
clarification here.
not inside.
Exhibit F, which dictates the zoning classification and the zoning parameters for this property, along with Lowe's on both sides, along with all the homes in Greg's Landing, both single-family and multifamily, does not prohibit the outdoor storage of materials. So by zoning, they are permitted to do that, unlike the B1 district throughout the village or some of the other zoning classifications that are located within Corporate Woods or Continental Executive Park. Therein lies the difference. Now, you can condition that approval if you choose to do that in this case, but I think what Menards has tried to do is address that outside storage concern by creating this rack system with the roof and everything that goes underneath it. So there's nothing stored out in the...
There's no roof here.
There-
Tell me where there's the roof.
Well, again, the petitioner can show you an illustration of that, I
Show me where
think.
the roof
Well, that's not a good drawing. Tom, you got a profile or you got an elevation?
Show me where there's a roof, where's the roof?
If this is the 14-foot high fence, then this area here is the 4-foot roof that overtops the racking that's interior to the lumberyard.
But then as I look at the building, you're telling me you're going to store stuff here too, so those residents are going to look at that stuff,
That's
correct?
potentially so, yes.
And they'll see that, especially if you're on.
I think there's the same thing at Lowe's, except they utilize chain link fence up against the back
No,
side
they
of their
don't.
store.
I've driven back there. I drove back there today.
Down to the
I
southwest corner.
drove back there today.
It's on the south
West corner.
portion of the property.
Why don't you give me a minute? And Joe, I think, has an illustration that we can show it in elevation form. The outdoor racking system is correct me if I'm wrong, it has a concrete base. It has the wood slat structure that goes vertical to a height of 14 feet. It then has a roof that covers it, similar to how my arm is shaped right here. In fact, there it is right there. And that pallet material is tucked in underneath.
That's fine,
That's
but
what they're
about
proposing
here?
all the way
What
around.
about here?
I can't see it, I'm sorry.
Against the building.
Against the building.
Okay.
What's going to happen against the building that those folks are going to see? Are you not going to have anything there?
We are going to have stuff there,
You are going to have stuff there.
yes.
Why, can you elaborate?
It would not be higher than 14 feet, but that's how high we stack materials.
What is the material?
That's what he said.
It depends on the merchandising plan for each particular store, which has not been developed at this point.
Well, let me ask a clarification here. Is this the elevation, the western elevation that you're talking about, or the north elevation?
Some of both. There's material
So,
stacked.
but on the north elevation, you have the racking system that's set up along that north elevation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and on the west elevation, you do not have the racking system set up whatsoever. You're just proposing that there would be outdoor storage of materials in that area.
That's correct.
Okay. I think what you're hearing is that doesn't work for the village, or a couple members of this board. So how do you address that in your operations?
I think it's very difficult to regulate from an operational standpoint. Once the store is open, it's very difficult to put parameters on them that I don't know that I can promise that the store manager can keep.
Well, if we send Mr. Atkinson over on a regular basis to remind him of what his obligations are, you think that'll do the trick?
Like we do with Home Depot and everybody else.
Right.
every
Yeah,
once in a
like we
while.
do with
So
everybody
I
else.
guess as a, whatever, 27th condition, there'd be no storage against the building facing to the west.
Along the west elevation,
Yeah, I mean,
so.
You can't.
And the north elevation is already, it's there. That's there,
But they're saying along the building, sir, I apologize for, he said he put it on the north side against the building too.
right. That's part of his plan here. That was originally.
So you can add that condition if you'd like, as a part of that, and we would obviously want to work with the store team with
Right.
regards to that to make sure that is sustained. I mean, we've got a number of things, and I think, Mike does a great job in following up with making calls to store managers and talking to them about various things, and that's what this would result in. But, that is what it is. And, if we have to create a striping plan for your parking lot that basically stripes this area out and says no materials in it, we could do that with you. So
I think what differentiates the west from the north is the fact that we're looking at two different elevations.
Right.
We have the second floor units that are the ones that we're really concerned about
Yeah.
from a west looking to the east standpoint. And we have such a longer distance from the north looking south.
Plus also, you're going to want to keep that west side a lot more open to
It
allow
does get
for
tight.
your
Yes.
backing your trucks in
and
there.
traffic, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
That-
correct.
That's why he's not saying that it's a storing area, but the main is on the north portion of it, on that roof slope on it.
Yep.
But you have to put something down to make sure you can move it to that other
Yep.
spot.
I'm not going to recommend the north side change. They need a certain amount of space, and you've got the parking lot space and a lot of other space between there. So I'm not going to debate it, but
I'm not debating, I don't think people understand that our patios are up 9 feet off of ground level back there. They're up higher than the ground by 9 feet. So they're looking at all that. When you come in our front door, I apologize.
Dave,
You come in
what's
our front
the-
door, you're at the street level, you walk out the dining room, and you're down 9 feet. So the patios are there, so we're already up 9 feet high
Dave,
at Libertyville Ridge.
what's the foundation height?
There was
for the-
697 on that.
For-
Yeah, right here. 697
697,
So we've got a 14-foot high fence.
goes to here.
Right.
but our patios are up 9 feet, but their first floor is up 9 feet off of street level. And that's what I needed, or just wanted you to understand that the
Right.
bedrooms are up.
We're planting a lot of trees and a 14-foot high fence there.
But we're already up 9 feet, sir,
This
to
is
that 14-foot high fence. So you only have 5 feet
We
back.
can't build a
The
building.
way your buildings are situated,
This
do
is
you
that
look
flow.
southwest or do you look, not southwest?
We look straight south, sir.
So here's your top.
There's 5 units.
There's 5 units. that
You're,
look straight
you're
south.
Yeah,
but then there's
seven,
a
between
lot-
710.
a lot of other
The
units
maximum's
that look
100.
At least according to the drawings, to answer your question, the Libertyville site would be about 7 feet lower than the Bay Hill
Yeah.
homes.
That's what I
Well,
thought.
Here, when
7 feet
Dave,
lower?
you
7
go out,
feet
when you
lower.
go out there, I mean, look at this. You know, when you're gonna,
Sure.
meet
That'd be
with,
awesome.
meet with the people.
Okay, I'll meet with you.
That'd be great.
Okay,
We go apples to apples.
Sounds good.
all right.
Let's do that. Yep.
I did go down and look at the Menards fence that she's talking about.
In
Deliberately.
Long Grove?
In Long
In
Grove.
Long
I
Grove.
drove all around it. You cannot see over that fence, I agree. So what's on the other side? I don't know.
And I've been in that
I'm sure
yard.
there's stuff on the other side.
Any other
I
questions for
couldn't
me?
see it.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Don't get.
It faces
Where are we
the
at?
outside though too. I mean,
We're-
I've personally been in the yard.
Are we,
Good evening.
Hold on.
well,
All right, so now we're looking at architecture.
okay.
So before we leave the landscape, we'll, obviously, staff's going to visit with our neighbors to the north, and Dave and his team will work with through that. We're going to work with their engineer with regards to the drainage and everything like that. We understand the marching orders there. The additional condition that you may want to consider is outside that west elevation, no storage of materials on the outside of the storage area or the building. We'll work with the petitioner to create some kind of striping and signage outside of that, so that there's no confusion, so that when Mike and his team walk over there and they say, hey, what's that stuff out there? Oh, we didn't know. We're going to point at some signs or point at something that basically says, yeah, you did. So, and we'll work through it from that standpoint. I don't know if there's anything else with regards to the landscape plan from your standpoint. Anything we want to add?
No.
No.
Okay.
Not for me.
All right.
Are you looking for a separate vote on this right now, or do you want to wait until we're done with all
I
this?
think we'll wait. I mean, I
Okay.
think Chet has some concerns, obviously, about adding blue spruces. I think we've heard that comment, and I think we've still got to work with the petitioner to make sure we have a variety of spruce trees that are in there, but we've heard his comments with regards to that. So you can skip that tonight, Chet. So,
Okay. So we're on to architecture.
Architecture.
My name, excuse me, my name is Chet Liss. I live at 515 Torrey Pines Way in Greg's Landing. I have lived there for 14 years. I am the chairperson of the Greg's Landing North Architectural Review Committee. There's two other board members besides me on the committee, and all of the Architectural Review Committee members agree with the feedback I'm about to present. Our goal, the goal of the village, the goal of Menards, the goal of Bradford, should be to make the Menards store the most beautiful, architectural, aesthetically pleasing store in the country. Just like we did to the south commercial area, to Lowe's, Mariano's, the bank and Staples, we should do the same thing to the Mariano store. If I could ask Tom, if Tom could come up and put the view graph up here that shows the front elevations, actually all the elevations. Can we start here?
Sure.
Okay, how do I get this? Tom? Oh, here we go. I guess I can't move it around. Well, anyway, on the front elevation, the front entrance sign, we are requesting that the front entrance sign be changed from the current design, which is ribbed steel, emerald green color on all four sides, the rainbow. We are requesting that that sign be, the emerald green be changed to tan or beige, that the rainbow be removed, the back outline of the color also be removed. This would make it consistent to the signage we have at Lowe's. This also applies to the two monument signs. Tom, if you could pull up the monument signs?
You don't have to, but I gave Joe that.
Stay here a minute because I'm just going to make a...
The people last Sunday. There's no.
Back up. Same thing on the two monument signs. Just like we did with Lowe's, we are requesting that the emerald green background be changed to either tan or beige, the rainbow be removed, and the back outline also be removed. That way we will have Menards in white on a tan or beige background, again, similar to what we did at Lowe's.
I'd say no. I mean, that's my opinion on this. I mean, this is, to give, there is some architectural relief to the color change, to the elevation itself. But you can go ahead, Chet.
Sure.
But
I
don't have any.
Yeah.
I don't have any intentions of pushing that because we've had this discussion, ad nauseum with them, and that included our architects on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So.
Yeah, with all due respect, like anything else, beauty, aesthetics is in the eyes of the beholder. So again, our Architectural Review Committee, we reviewed it, and we all agreed with what I had said.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Tom, back up again to the main view graphs. The top one. Okay, on the, replace all the emerald green colors on all the fronts with tan or beige. So again, this applies to all the elevations.
Don't you think that adds a certain boredom to the facade?
Not necessarily. I mean, we have the.
I personally disagree with that. I agree with what the mayor just said, that the green breaks up the architecture for me and makes it a more interesting facade than all the solid tans and browns.
Possibly could be a compromise. Rather than have all the emerald green that's on the building in all the places, leave some, but also change some to tan or beige. That could be a compromise.
I don't think this is in here.
If you look at the rear elevation,
Those are the windows.
the rear elevation does not meet our requirements, or I believe the village ordinance, on 360-degree architecture. Now, all three sides of the building are brick, except the rear elevation is painted, it's painted precast panels. Again, this is a view that's very visible from Bay Hill. So we are requesting that the rear elevation be the 360-degree elevation, and it be changed to be the same as the front elevation, brick with the same colors.
It's not seen.
Once before, the rear elevation had, if you could point to it, Tom, right up here. I can't get to it. Help me out. In that area where Tom's pointing to, it had two sets of windows. In many of the iterations, somehow those two sets of windows were removed. Request is to add those two sets of windows back in. Again.
Or a false window.
Pardon?
It's like
Or
a false window.
Yes, false windows.
Yes.
Again, adding to the beauty of the rear elevation.
What's the, I guess I'll ask Tom on the split, the concrete precast, is there a way to blend that with any other material, like brick?
Yes, in response to a number of these questions, what we did is we took a number of stakeholders' input in
Right.
the evolution of the plans, and based on some of the other architects' inputs, that's why we ended up with some green steel elements, some change in the color to get that contrasting element. As far as the 360-degree architecture comment, I guess we were directed to really make these changes relative to the storefront and the southern elevation, but in return, similarly to Greg's South, that the rear elevation to the west, if we implemented a panelized construction that was painted to match the front, that would still be then consistent. The rear elevation still does have a split face block along the base that would be overlaid on top of the panelized construction, and then the panels would then be above that and would be visible higher. As far as windows go in the rear, again, that was input from other architects on the Planning and Zoning Commission, as far as they thought we were lacking symmetry if we had another set of windows in the midst.
Just for the committee's information, there are several conditions of approval that are related to the comments that Chet made. The rooftop units were, as a condition of approval, asked to be changed to the color 2 or color 4 on the material sample board to make it lighter in color. In addition to that, on the right side elevation, the second floor elevation as it relates to the gray coloring, which appears to be white on your screens, was also requested to be changed to either color 2 or color 4 to acquiesce to the comments that were received by some individuals who had reviewed the plans, including Chet.
And another comment that was raised by Planning and Zoning Commission members was to enclose the staircases that are located along the rear and the southern expanse of the store elevations, and that has been accomplished here, here, and here.
If I could ask Tom now to go through to the 3D rendering of the building. Right here. In terms of, if you look at the rooftop, the air handling equipment, if you look at the covers, what color is the color of the covers on the top?
I think per Joe's comments, we were directed by the Planning and Zoning Commission to make that less a white color and more of a soft earth tone.
It was a softer number 4, if I'm correct. Was that?
So just a heads up, the drawings that were just passed out by John, they do not have that rendering.
No.
They have emerald green, okay?
All right, so what we're looking at on the screen is what we'll get,
And
as
it's-
opposed to, this drawing,
Is that on the board?
right?
4?
Oh,
Tom, right?
That is correct. Again, as the plans have evolved, sometimes they change quicker than I can get them into the village.
Okay, Tom, if you could show the 3D rendering of the parking lot, the cart corral design, and the fencing around the garden center, whichever one comes up first.
I don't know what you're saying. There's,
Yeah, the cart corrals.
As Tom is getting to the fencing around the garden center, it should be noted that the cart corral rendering and the 3D elevation is not correct. As a condition of approval, Menards has agreed to providing cart corrals. They're similar in aesthetics to the Mariano's corrals. So that is already noted in the conditions of approval.
So, Tom,
Like these?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But they'll be sized appropriately to handle both shopping carts and flatbed warehouse trucks.
We're going to have to do some
Value engineering.
venture, yes.
now, Tom, the drawings we have show that the fencing and the cart corrals are emerald green. Are they emerald green or black?
No, they're black.
the black.
Black.
Good, we want them black. In terms of the landscaping plan, as Joe had mentioned, what I had brought up was in terms of the spruce trees. Initially, most of the trees were white pine, and as we have found out in Greg's Landing, white pines just do not age well. So I had asked that the white pines be replaced with spruces, Colorado blue spruces. In the landscaping plan, all the spruces are green Colorado spruces. So I'm asking that maybe 50% of the spruces be Colorado blue spruces and 50% be green Colorado spruces. The other comment I added was in terms of color, to add some crimson key maples to the landscaping. There are 0 crimson key maples. They had nice color. We would like to request that they be added. I thank you for listening to our feedback. I'd like to now call up, I'd like to say also I'm a director and officer of the Greg's Landing North Homeowners Association, but I'd like to have Don Caton come up, who's the president of the association, and have him speak for the board of directors.
Thank you, Jack. Good evening, everyone. I am Don Cathan, president of the Greg's Landing North Homeowners Association. I have a couple of questions this evening. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the P&Z meeting. I had a previous commitment, but Chet did bring the information back, shared it with the board. We are in agreement on the comments that he laid out before you this evening. But my question is, I did attend some of the previous meetings, including the last committee of the whole meeting, but also the working group meetings, if you will, in which the renderings, the building elevations, were a tan color. These aprons were beige, tan, more earthy tone. I understand that you could argue that green is an earth tone, but I remember the comment specifically, and Tom made it, that the printer that had printed those renderings off showed them in a kind of a muddy grayish color, and he said, oh, no, that's not accurate. They are, in fact, beige. So my question is, you referred, Tom, this evening to an evolutionary process. This, to me, looks like a de-evolutionary process. When did this change back to the emerald green?
I don't think it did. If you look at the drawing up here on the board, and if you look at the materials, I think that's, again, just a printing problem. I mean, because you don't see any super dark materials.
You're talking green on the roof?
I'm talking about the emerald green on the aprons in front. And the reason why I keep harping on that or referring back to that, we all remember the discussions we had with Lowe's, how Lowe's wanted their big blue corporate logo, just like every other Lowe's store that you see. And this board shared the feeling that the color that's there on Lowe's now was more aesthetically pleasing. I happen to feel that Lowe's, you won't find another one as attractive anywhere in the Chicagoland area. That's the best looking Lowe's, bar none. and you had a hand in building it. You made that happen by your choices. If Lowe's had their way, we'd have a blue Lowe's just like every other. This, to me, looks just like the store down at Lake Cook and Hicks. Doesn't look any different in terms of the renderings, the emerald green. It looks like every other corporate Menards that you would see. So I'm just asking you to please reconsider the emerald green. If there's something we can do to keep it more in the earthy realm. I'm not saying it should be a wash of tan so that it all looks the same. You can vary that, you can differentiate that, but this does look like every other Menards that we've all driven by and seen. I don't think it does justice to the village of Vernon Hills, and I think at one point in time, some of you shared the sentiment that we would like it to be as good as it possibly could be within reason. So I think that's something that I would ask you to please reconsider this evening. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Architectural, anybody else?
What else do we have here? Photometrics, site lighting plan.
Do you need those three green, do you need those three parts there, those three green canopies? Is that an entrance or what?
Let's go back to a different
Yeah.
view.
Yeah, those three at the very, do you need that? There's windows there, but do you need that, or what's the purpose of?
The canopy itself is a pretty important element. Again, again, we talk about how things evolve. And when we thought we were acting at the behest of the Planning and Zoning Commission liaisons to some of our workshop processes in reintroducing the emerald green concept back into the elevation plans. They had asked for some further build out of the entrance feature to give it more strength at the main entrance, and similarly to provide some more mass to the base that surrounds both the main entrance and exit. And staff can feel free to jump in here at any time. I thought it was through that process that we were frankly asked to reintroduce the emerald green steel concept back into the drawing to give it a different change of color and feel.
I don't have a problem with the green, I just wondered why you need those, is that just a coverlet so people can walk?
It is
there?
it has a protective overhang for
Overhang.
walking underneath when you're in the elements.
And then my other question is the swish. And I gave Joe Carey a advertisement, and you've got Menards just in white. Do you need that swish of rainbow? Because I saw an advertisement last Sunday of just Menards in white.
It's certainly an important element. If you look at the storefront itself,
But
bear with.
I don't my question is that you have advertisements without this rainbow. So why do we need it here? I mean, can we not just do it white like we do with Lowe's? I can keep the green, I can deal with the green.
I think it's more of a question of what does that facade look like when we eliminate that
Or can you
element?
incorporate just a white, just like Lowe's put a house around brick around its name, can you just put white in there? If you needed to emphasize a line across underneath.
Perhaps.
Can you look at that and show me that?
It fulfills the mansard there a lot better because of the massing of that. Otherwise, the lettering would be too small.
Can you show me some options?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you show the board Joe, could you just show them what I found in the paper? I just found Menards in white lettering.
But would it be preferable if the yellow was gold?
Oh, I don't want gold.
No.
I don't want gold. No, I just want white. No, I don't.
I'm just asking.
But I just, because you're adverse, you've got some Menards that are just plain white, and then you got this other, so I just wondered why. I mean, it's not consistent, I guess. If you want to pass along the
Pass
advertisement.
the article
I
along,
found
Joe.
it in the paper, so that's what it is. So I know you probably hate me by now. I know you probably hate me, but it's because I'm just coming
No.
back at you. It's like, oh, geez, here she comes.
I just
again.
can't, I don't always know the
I don't know.
answers.
I mean, I know but I just, would think that it's plain and simple.
I mean, maybe I'll just,
I'll be honest, I don't mind the green. I think it does give relief to the building.
What is she looking at?
I guess, on this one, I mean, with this, the rainbow, I mean, who has a problem with it? I mean,
And maybe it's
if
just
we
me.
pull the
Right.
board
If
on
the-
this, I mean,
Maybe I'd stand alone on that one.
How do you feel about
I don't like the rainbow,
it? Okay.
personally.
Mike?
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me either. I don't, Tom?
Jeannie doesn't.
It's okay.
I'd probably prefer it if it was just white as opposed to a rainbow.
Okay.
You know where I stand. No rainbow, but Jim. he doesn't.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, we've learned our lesson, we've learned a lot about branding via our discussions with McDonald's over and over, and this is part of their branding.
Argument, so.
Yeah, I don't think it makes or breaks, so.
And if that's the case, then I will tell you right now, Tom, that if I see anything outside that store, I will be on you to get that back in the store, because I don't want
Yeah.
that. I don't want that.
Send me the
We dealt
zoning
with
violation.
Michael's, we
Precedent.
dealt with
Right.
Dick's. I'm sorry, I want a clean look.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want a bunch of stuff. In fact, I'm going to be on Mariano's pretty soon with all their stuff that's out there.
Like the barbecue?
Yeah, like the barbecue. I'm getting a little, I just want it clean and neat.
Yep,
Right, Mr. Kelmer?
just like parking in front of our house. We want clean
Yes.
and neat.
Okay.
So I'd rather
All right.
fight that than.
Yeah, before I go to a lot of planning commission or city council meetings, I usually visit the local competition, and then I count the number of pallets that they have outdoors to demonstrate
Because I know Lowe's
the
wanted to
competition
put all their
versus
lumber out there, and we said no.
how clean our operation is.
And I want it to be clean. I want it to look nice.
Here's the plan. It looks black.
Unfortunately, the reputation of, and I don't mean to diss Mundelein, but what was there
Sure.
was totally unacceptable if it were in our area.
Well, they
Because
put
it
it in
was
front of
just,
the building.
it was,
That's not net representative
and that
of
wasn't
what our store is
representative of
today.
what your store is, so.
It's a brochure.
Look at that. See, there it is. Wait, I'll show the public.
Yeah,
There it is. Menard.
Very
Doesn't even
black.
have an S.
Very black.
But if you look at
Oh,
the small one,
There you go.
The back one has it.
What back?
On the other side. it's
and
got
actually
it.
that's a
Does have
sentence,
Well,
not a,
All right, fine already.
and there's no
It's
S.
true.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry. What
Menard
was
Day
this here?
sale.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Wherever they use
All right.
the full name,
I-
they have the
you
switch.
It's
know,
okay, okay. And it sounds like there's a
Let's
board
move
that
on,
wants
okay?
the swish.
You know,
So it's fine.
to the light, the light plan.
Well, Your Honor, you want to touch on the monument sign out front?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good. All right.
Getting it, yes. Well, yeah, you're gonna, I can't do anything about it. They're gonna take away the rainbow.
Oh, the lights.
Okay. Just Mike Atkinson, are you going to speak to this one, or?
Sure, I can. The taller sign that you see there is the sign that would be along Milwaukee Avenue. That one is 21 feet tall, which is above the 8-foot sign limitation. It is 110 square feet. Also, it would have 4 total tenant panels, as shown on there. So, typically, our sign code would only allow 1 tenant panel.
Okay, and where's this cited, where's the sign cited on the site?
That one will be located right here at the entrance off of Milwaukee. And the other one that we're going to go back to would be located here, the entrance off of Greg's.
And those are the monument signs? The-
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. The
Are
one.
they going to call for any kind of variance at all?
Yeah, that's what I was outlining the variations for you, the first sign. Height, area, and having more than 1 tenant panel, both of them will have variations for those.
But consistent with the signage at Greg's South.
And
Okay.
preliminary approval was granted by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the initial commission meeting, and then as part of the variations that were approved during the first committee of the whole, variations for signage were also included in that, which were consistent with the signage that was approved for the Lowe's Greg's Landing South development.
All right. Anybody got any comments on this? Okay. Anything else on architectural elevations or signs? What do we have, the site lighting plan? Or do we take care of that? Okay.
We talked on it briefly.
Okay, is there any other? Trustee Cook.
Where are we at on the traffic signal and the full access on Milwaukee?
I would rather have Bill Woodward talk to that.
Okay.
We have revised the traffic study to meet the village's requirements, and it's been resubmitted. Based on that, it indicates that the warrants are met for the traffic signal off of Greg's immediately with the initial construction of the Menards store, and we are proceeding with the design of those plans for submittal to the village and to Lake County, as Dave indicates, and for interconnect with some work that we have to do at Milwaukee and Greg's. But as far as the technical aspects of it, I'm going to ask Bill to step in.
Can you drop the board there so I can look eye to eye to Mr. Brown?
Good evening, William Woodward with KLOA, 9575 West Higgins in Rosemont, traffic engineer for this project. Tom pretty much answered the question already. We are in the process of working with IDOT for the access points. We have basically received preliminary approval and concept of the locations of the access drives off of Milwaukee Avenue, as well as the signalization of the access on Greg's Parkway and interconnecting that signal with Milwaukee Avenue.
But the one on Milwaukee is going to remain a full access without a signal at this point.
That's correct.
Well, it's probably understandable because, I mean, they're less than 1,400 feet or 1,200 feet from the other lights.
Yes.
Oh, the SRA spacing will not allow it to be a signal, so that's pretty clear
Right.
from IDOT. It's
What is the length of the frontage for the whole property? So it's 1,000 feet deep, I know that.
Yeah.
But what's the actual frontage from Greg's Parkway to the Chase Bank property? So it's it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost you're saying it's almost a square?
Pretty close.
Yeah, so it's 1,200. Yeah, okay.
The whole piece or just the Menards piece?
No, the whole piece.
The access drive itself is about 800 feet north of Greg's Parkway.
Yeah, all right. And will that be a right turn, left turn, it'll be full intersection?
Right in, right out.
Full
It'll be a
access?
full access on Milwaukee Avenue, and we will be putting in a northbound left turn lane and a southbound right turn lane.
And is there actually going to be a deceleration lane going north, south on Milwaukee when you turn in?
Yes.
There already is one there.
Yes. South, yes.
Yeah, okay, okay. All right, well, yeah, that's right. We had Cuneo do that a long time ago. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Before he goes, yeah. I was over at Red Tree and, trying to utilize the, whatever, Red Top Drive, I guess it is, and Gulf or whatever the southbound connector is, or westbound, excuse me. At that signalized light, it takes forever to get out of that Jewel parking lot because there is so much traffic on Gulf going east to get to Milwaukee. And so it's very difficult to make a left
Green Tree
turn.
Parkway?
Yeah.
Golf is further
Yes,
north.
yeah, it is Green Tree.
Green Tree Parkway.
Yes,
Green Tree and Red Top.
Red
Okay.
Top. And I mean, this is going to add some additional suicide lane changing, crossing there. IDOT is on board with, there's a certain frustration level of getting out of red top at the signalized. And if you use the non-signalized, the one that's across from this entrance here, it really is kind of, you're taking your life in your hands, so to speak. I mean, it's not that desperate, but it seems like those should be right in, right outs only, both sides, the red top side and our side. And IDOT is really allowing this, though, to be a full intersection, and they're not going to require anything else at Green Tree and Red Top to facilitate better movement through that intersection.
At this time, to answer the latter part of your question, they have not directed us to look at anything to the north. The access itself, as I mentioned, they have approved a preliminary and concept. They just have to go through the formal review process with our traffic study and so forth. But they did not have a specific concern as to maintaining it as a full access.
And you're
as it is
providing
today.
counts on the entrance and exiting at Red Top?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, to the south, I mean, you can access, Greg's, Parkway.
Right.
By the Walgreens. I mean, if you want to cut through the Walgreens lot, you can do that to get to a traffic signal,
Right.
I mean, and that's why we're promoting the traffic signal on Greg's Parkway to allow the people that want to go, that want to exit the Menards site to travel northbound,
Right.
allows them to use that signal during heavier periods of the day.
Right. I just find it hard to believe, though, that IDOT's going to approve anything beyond a right in, right out. But that's their prerogative, I guess. It's their road.
Yeah, you want to ask a question? You want to come up, or you want the mic? You want the mic? Here, just give her the portable mic.
We need to be able to,
Yeah. Yeah, you can talk, sure. If you're gonna come up. Okay. Okay.
Hi, I'm Donna Fox. I live at 1962 Crenshaw, so this very much affects me. I want to thank all of you for the amount of time you've spent on this issue. Cynthia, thank you. What you were talking about is a structure that you're trying to make as pleasing as possible, and it does look better and better every time I come to a meeting in the front, but the back is our front. And that seems to be ignored. When each one of us builds a house, do we only think about the front, or do we think about the sides and the back? For us, your back is our front. And when I looked at the 360 degrees that we want to be all the way around, Cynthia, you pointed out a really good point. Well, if they're going to be putting lumber there or whatever, it doesn't have to be brick, because that's all going to be covered with something in the evolution of what hopefully the person running the store will try to follow in what we're asking. So I sat in on a meeting, and I'm not sure what the zoning was, but there was a store that just wanted to have a sale and put out some merchandise for a day or two, and your committee said, no, we don't want it to be outside. Well, whatever you put outside in your company will be not just for a weekend, it will be for always. And we'll see it, no matter what kind of material the fence is, no matter how beautiful the landscaping is, which we thank you, it's really going to be nice. But remember, our front is your back. So please think about that. And if you were living there, what you would like to see when you look out on your property. And I do thank you, because I know you're putting a lot of effort into this. And thank you for listening to me and everybody else, because this really is important. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Again, I'm Holly Estel from the Bay Hill Board. I have two questions. One is on the traffic, and that is, I know we've talked a lot about the traffic on Milwaukee, the entrance from Milwaukee and the entrance off of Greg's Parkway. There's been a lot of discussion, too, about Lakeview. Crenshaw Circle our community exits onto Greg's Parkway between Lakeview and the exits that will be opposite each other, Mariano's and Menards, coming onto Greg's Parkway. At the zoning meeting, when there was discussion of traffic, they were talking about the lights and how the lights were going to be timed for people getting in and out of Mariano's and Menards. I know we can't have a light at Crenshaw Circle to get out, but I'm hoping that there will be consideration of how, if there is a light at Mariano's and Menards coming onto Greg's Parkway, there's got to be a time when that light is red for people coming out of there, and there aren't people coming up from Milwaukee Avenue going to the west. There's got to be an opportunity for us to get out. And at rush hour now, it's really difficult. And when he was, last time the traffic consultant had some information. So I hope you will consider the 144 owners of homes in Bay Hill.
We will. I mean, certainly we will, because we realize that that's very
Okay.
important to you to get out of there. And you say, we know that, so.
Okay. The other question I had was, as you were discussing the lights last week at the Planning and Zoning Committee, we're talking about when the lights would come on in the evening and when they would go off. And then there was discussion of security lights would come on for the night. What are the security lights like? We haven't heard about them at all. Where are they going to shine? I usually, from what I've seen, businesses try to light the whole lots, the whole parking area, the whole area where they're talking about having their supplies outside. Is that light going to be shining at Bay Hill and at Liberty Ridge?
I believe it was brought up, the lights that are going in the parking lot shine directly down. The backside of the building, the lights are turned on a 15-degree angle, which then draws the light away from you and towards the building.
Okay, I heard that, but I don't think, my impression was not that that was security lighting. My impression was that that was the normal-evening lighting around the building and in the lot. Am I wrong?
So you're right, there's a couple of different types of lighting. One's for security, it's off of the building. The other's the parking lot lighting. What Trustee Marquardt mentioned and I mentioned was more the parking lot lighting that's lighting the pavement itself. There will be some lighting on the building for entrance to doorways, et cetera, and that's something that we'll work with our building commissioner to make sure that that's not causing glare. You guys also know your marching orders to not have glare towards.
Well, it is, one of the conditions in here is that the yard lights and parking lot lights will be off from 10:30 to 6:30.
That is correct. Those lights that are depicted on the photometrics plan are turned off in the overnight hours. Those are not security lights.
Then where are the security lights?
They're in the emergency locations that Dave was indicating above emergency doors.
And they're not going to be shining out and directly at our buildings?
No, I believe they're also, I got to get more information on those for Dave. I don't know the actual fixture type for those.
We'd appreciate knowing that. Thank you.
In regards to the photometrics, I mean, one of the conditions of approval that was granted previously was final review and approval by the village engineer prior to the issuance of a building permit. Photometrics is inclusive to that, so there certainly will be something that was taken into consideration.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to speak? Sure. Yeah.
Hi, David Oppenheim, 1584 Hague Point Lane. I'm sorry? Speak up.
You want to use the hand mic? I don't.
Yeah, the hand mic's probably a little
Okay.
bit, carries better.
Hi, David Oppenheim, 1584 Hague Point Lane. Is that better?
What subdivision is that?
I'm in the Point, which is just southwest of
Right.
the stop signs.
Oakmont.
So I have a few questions. First of all, regarding the hours, you just mentioned 6:30 till 10, but it was mentioned 3 times at the Planning and Zoning meeting on May 28th. The petitioner even said that it was 7:30 till 10. So I wanted to, and that was their understanding. So I wanted to know what the intent is for the hours of the store, considering you said it was 7:30 to 10 to the Planning and Zoning group.
No, I was strictly referring to the lights being on.
Right.
Not
Well,
operation is-
right, but I
Well, the
thought
store
maybe.
closes at what time?
10.
10.
Yeah.
Right, but what time does it open is the question.
Are we talking store or are we talking yard delivery hours now? Because those are conditions.
Both.
Both.
Yeah, we got this.
Were the delivery hours conditioned at 8 o'clock, Joe? Is it 8:30 to 8?
I have to confirm, but it is till 8.
I believe so. And then the store itself opens at 6:30 for commercial contractor traffic, customers.
Right, but on May 28th, you said it was 7:30.
If I did that, I'm mistaken. My apologies.
The memo included in the Planning and Zoning Commission packet, as well as the Committee of the Wholes, does indicate 6:30 to 10:30. The lights would be on. That's due to the store closing at 10 and the lights being on a half hour after close.
Okay.
I mean, what time, I'm going to ask Tom, what time do the employees clear the building? Because, yeah, there's that safety issue.
Again, the
Right.
store would be, they're out of there by slightly after 10, so right around
Oh,
10:30.
okay, all right.
So I would just add, it's just somewhat bothersome that it would be mentioned 3 times at a planning and zoning meeting and that they would vote on it in that regard. One thing that wasn't mentioned here is Lot 2 and the setback for Lot 2. And I know you aren't really talking about that right now, but I think it's important in that there's supposed to be a 50-foot setback from Milwaukee Avenue. The petitioner from Bradford said that he would have a hard time fitting anything into that lot if it weren't even less than 25 feet. He'd asked for a variance to 10 feet, which I'm not sure if you're all aware of this yet, but
Are
that's
we
actually...
looking for a vote on that variance tonight?
No.
So it's really not germane to this discussion?
Well, it is germane in that perhaps if nothing else can fit, then maybe you would vote differently regarding the entire site plan. Secondly, if nothing else can fit, maybe you would suggest that that entire area just becomes a water retention pond. That's just a thought, if they can't actually fit anything else in there.
You're
due to
saying
the,
that the outlet at
Just the one-
Milwaukee and Craig's Park.
correct. Correct. So that's just a thought. Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, there are signs at Walgreens saying that you're not allowed to cut through going south. I do it all the time myself, and I know everyone else does, but I'm just
Try not
afraid.
to go around the building through the drive-through lanes. You just go in front of the building.
Right. I'm just afraid that Walgreens is now going to put a gate or something up, and then we'll be forced, because you really can't turn left coming out of Jewel very easily, at least not safely. And then everyone's going to be forced to go.
I can't speak to that one, I mean,
It's in Libertyville.
yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
Moving on.
moving on, that was part of your
Yeah,
discussion. One thing that really hasn't been considered that much is putting 2 exact similar buildings together. There's going to, between the Lowe's and the Menards, people are going to do comparison shopping, I would imagine. And they're going to cut right through in front of Mariano's. So there's a safety concern there that hasn't been addressed. Lastly, I wanted to have it out there. This entire project is predicated on the Milwaukee study and Milwaukee letter from October. And that Milwaukee study says that perhaps Vernon Hills is dynamic enough in the area, the 5-mile area is dynamic enough. But what wasn't mentioned was back in 2009, Milwaukee, the same group, said that Vernon Hills does not need another home improvement store on page 62 of that 2009 study. So something changed. The other thing that Milwaukee said was they expected that by 2013, Home Depot and Lowe's will be bringing in $70 million, which clearly they haven't been bringing in $70 million. They've only been bringing in around $40 million. So obviously they are not soothsayers. But Milwaukee says you can't hold as gospel. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the record, that this entire project is predicated on that, and I think that's a bad idea. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your comments. Staff, is there any other comments from staff on this? I guess not, huh? All right, well, first item is what? The
Are we looking for 4 different
votes?
motions?
Yep.
Well, I guess the question is what's your pleasure? I mean, you can put these all together in one motion, and again, remember, it's going to come back in ordinance form.
Subject to everything we.
Subject to the conditions that are set forth in your packet, plus the additional condition of the no outdoor storage of building-related materials along the west elevation. I don't know, Joe, if there's anything else to add?
Just that there will, staff will work with Menards to create a striping plan that will prohibit that storage area along that western elevation.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve, you want me to reference the page? Is it the 4 landscaping, architecture, site lighting, and site signage is outlined on page 2 of 7 of the, I don't know who drafted this. You know what I'm referencing, Joe or Mike?
Yeah.
Yes, it would be the preliminary and final approval of the landscaping plans.
Right.
Preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations for Lot 1. Preliminary and final approval of the site lighting plan. And lastly, final approval of the building and site signage plans, subject to the compliance, the variations and conditions approvals listed above, in addition to, so I think there's 26.
Well, now we've added several more tonight, and then probably obviously some of the comments from the residents. Okay, so the motion is.
I'd like to vote on the sign separately.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve preliminary and final approval of the landscaping plans, preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevation for Lot 1, preliminary and final approval of the site lighting plan? Is there a motion?
Motion to direct staff to create the necessary ordinances for those 3 items.
Second it.
Who's seconding?
I did.
Okay.
Barbara, myself.
And just to clarify, the motion is that subject to the conditions set forth in your packet, plus the additional condition on outdoor.
Yeah, well, the packet, you want me to reference what, the,
Items 1 through 26, plus the additional condition.
And what we added tonight.
okay, roll call.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Marquardt?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, signage.
Motion to direct staff to create the necessary ordinance for final approval of the building and site signage plans, subject to conditions established previously.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Comments or questions on this?
And this is just to clarify, this would be consistent with the signage that has been shown tonight in your packet.
First and second agree?
Yes, sir.
Agree.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
No.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
No.
Okay, so it's 4-2. Okay,
Tom
4-2.
voted for it, yeah.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
All right. Next item is Centrum Properties project at Milwaukee and 60.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives of Centrum Partners appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission also on July 9th for a development review related to the 850 Milwaukee Avenue property. As you see in your packet, the proposal is for Northwestern Medicine to take over the northern section of the space. The southeast corner of the space will be utilized for a retail or restaurant tenant to be determined at a later date. There's landscaping and approvals and architectural elevations for building and ground-mounted signage that were reviewed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. 6-0, subject to 4 conditions. Final approval of the village engineer and landscape architect. Amendment of the signage plan to comply with sign ordinance. Compliance with the material sample board and color board, as well as the installation of additional awnings on the western building elevation, identical to the north and east building elevations. It should be noted that the signage that was displayed on the elevations will require additional review and would be subject to review by the Zoning Board of Appeals due to some various sign variations that would be required related to the number of signs on frontage, as well as the number of monument signs at the location. The petitioner has stated that they will be resurfacing the parking lot, also providing some additional landscaping that will be provide a needed enhancement to the area, as well as the southeast corner of the Milwaukee and Town Line intersection. They'll provide quite significant amount of landscaping there. If the committee of the whole does feel that the request is appropriate, it is recommended that the staff be directed to prepare the necessary ordinance granting approval of the revised architectural elevations and the proposed amendments to the landscape plan at 850 North Milwaukee Avenue, subject to the conditions above. Again, the signage is more for illustrative purposes and for conversation. They will have to be going forward. And the petitioner is here if there's any questions specific to those items.
Again, what do we had to do?
I think it looks great.
You like that much?
I guess I'm not quite sure what we're here to do tonight.
So previously, the committee of the whole voted down the multi-tenant two-building concept that was presented before the committee. They came back, they met with staff on several occasions and also appeared before the committee as a concept review, looking at doing a refacade of the building as well as revitalizing the landscaping along the building. That includes removal of ash trees as well as providing much needed architectural enhancements to the building. What you see before you as the southeast corner showing windows as well as signage for a retail tenant. That corner is more prominent, that would be more attractive for a retail use. Northwestern Medical has agreed to the northern section of the building. The bank would stay at that location in the existing plan.
Yeah.
You said that you're comment earlier that the signage was just representative, or,
I mean,
so,
you got northwestern all over the damn building.
Yeah, basically, they need a variation for what they're showing, so it's just shown for,
okay.
just as an FYI. If you have any comments you'd like to send back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, you're welcome to do it. But the reason this is here for you tonight is that it's a new an approved building with a new elevation on it that you have to approve, along with revised landscaping, which you have to approve the amendment of. If you remember, we did a revised landscape plan a couple years ago,
Right.
and they're coming back to revise that plan again.
They're there, and they're there.
Yeah, it's just
Well, I like what I see,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem with the sign, so I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second.
And that would
And
be
aren't you
the,
glad I'm not going at you guys?
that's for the staff to direct, to prepare the necessary
Direct the
ordinance.
necessary ordinance
They
to-
already had their night where we
Yeah.
beat them up, so.
to make the ordinance and make it happen.
There you go.
There we go.
Just a question, the building usage, again, where are we at on it? It's
This one up there.
the medical and,
Larry Powers, Centrum Partners.
Where's the other guy?
John? Yeah, he had to catch a flight, believe it or not. He was early in the morning, anyways. The building usage has changed slightly. It's improved a little bit, actually, where Northwestern is now taking sort of backside space, leaving the corner about 5,000 square feet on grade for an immediate opportunity, which I'm sure we'll be talking about in the near future.
and that'll probably be
terms of
retail
use?
or restaurant or?
Yeah, I would say, of course, retail or restaurant. Which way it would go from there is still to be determined. Candidly, there's probably a lot more interest in restaurant uses than retail.
Capital Grill.
I would like that. That would be good for us, it'd be good for you.
Capital Grill is
Yeah.
pretty good. Well, anyway, yeah, that's your.
But yeah,
I think
right.
restaurant is most likely, so I'm sure we'll be talking about parking in the future.
So you have a motion and a second right now on the
Right.
table.
Trustee Markwart.
Yeah, just question, I know most of the building is going to Northwestern, but it's on three sides of the building.
There's signs on 3 places.
I mean, only,
Yeah, I think, in order to encourage them to take space off town line, we propose a sign on town line. The trade-off seems to be one that makes sense for us and one I think that you guys would support, which is getting more retail space on town line, pushing the medical office north.
Well, there's
where
two
does the
signs.
person who,
There's 2 sides on one side and one on the other.
right, you'll have one on the,
Oh, are you talking about the monument signage?
no,
building.
building sign. Because you have,
Well-
on the east, you've got,
that's a
You got
move
two.
medical.
This one then.
yeah, but you
I
got
see.
2 on the
Here,
side,
here,
and then
and
1
here.
on 60, 2
Right,
on.
that's what we said, that was to get Northwestern to
No,
go from
Right,
the
so you've
corner.
got,
Question is,
trustee,
there's
you've got
two
kind of
on
2 signs at the corner. Obviously one for
Yeah, one
east-west
is where
traffic,
they
one
are,
for
and the other one is to
northbound traffic,
catch people.
and then one identity sign right over their entrance, almost like a typical retail
1, 2,
configuration.
3.
Right,
Does that make sense?
2 on
And the
one side,
and the
same side
retail
building.
end of it is office, basically on that.
Yes,
point.
yes.
There it has
Just to
Where it says-
identify their
Where it
entrance.
says fashion.
No, it's kind of at the very far corner of the screen here.
Did it for McDonald's, and there's M's all
That's,
over.
that's the north view. So this is the actual
Supposed to
ground
be
floor space.
Maggiano's.
This is at the very north end,
Right,
north of the
this is to-
drive-through.
This that you have up there,
Spelled-
I understand, is to the far north.
Never heard of
There's
that.
signages to the far south and also to the south and also east on the corner.
That's right, that's
So
right.
that's, I'm just questioning.
Okay.
And the NM's got to go on the canopy.
We actually revised this package to take that off. I think this is the exact same presentation we made to,
Yeah, we thought the other one would be on there. I have it with me. I can show you.
But you've taken that off?
Yes,
Right, yes,
yeah.
good,
Yeah,
that's,
it's
okay,
like
good.
Coast
We've
Guard.
done
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah, Jan, it's okay.
John's, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
I think
It's okay.
I think we answered the
I
question.
think, yeah, he just pointed it out. What is your, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm thinking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How big is the first floor space going to be that's available?
The answer
Just
is
shy of
the
5,000
reason
feet,
why they have the
trustee.
signage And to push.
So that's a good restaurant.
Northwestern.
Yeah, you
in
could
the
do
middle.
Yeah, it's a good restaurant size.
So they-
There's also a natural kind of patio space that we're trying to create in front of it.
Have you got the chases in place to duck any restaurant odors up
Not
and
yet.
out?
That would have to, and that was another reason why we put Northwestern kind of on the north side, so the chases don't go through their space. And, you know, no matter how hard you try, inevitably there's odor issues. So we just try to keep them remote from the restaurants.
But the building's a hell of a nice building, and it looks like.
All right, any other comments or questions from the board? We got a motion and a
I just
second.
want to clarify that they'll be back for signage? John?
Joe, they'll be.
I believe the process obligates.
It would be before the zoning board of appeals for signage related to both the building and whatever number of monument signs is allowed through the ZBA process.
Okay.
All signage will be back. Right.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Hebda?
We lost a very dear friend, Don Hook, this past week, who went to Northwestern, so I love the purple. I know he would, so Don, if you can see this, I'm voting yes, and you're going to love this site right here. I vote yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Okay, is there a motion?
Name it the Don Hook Northwestern Medical.
Is there a motion to adjourn? We are not going into closed session.
We're not.
We will do it next week.
Next Tuesday? Is that okay? It's not.
Yeah, I already talked.
Okay.
Check with Ptak, right?
Yeah. All right.
Bob,
There's a motion to adjourn, and who's gonna make it?
I'll motion it first and I'll motion it second.
Motion is second. Okay, roll call.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you and good night.